Lancero, man.
Thank you, brother. It's my my favorite. It's received accolades around the world.
So we're live, folks.
Oh,
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this live broadcast. We are delighted. Such a treat to have David Blanco with us from Blanco Cigars. Folks in the Middle East are not too familiar, but we'll give a chance for David to properly introduce himself. And honestly, we thank you very much, David, for joining us today, taking so much time of your busy day, busy schedule. Such a treat to have you, man.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
I want to thank you for having me and first apologize that I will not be speaking Arabic on this show.
Guys are made aware of that.
Maybe a little Spanish, but that's about it. But it is an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
A pleasure is ours. Thank you very much.
And we have Elias too from Cigar Sommelier.
Thank you for joining us,
Hi,
Elias.
everyone.
Actually, Elias was the link between us and David, and we appreciate that arrangement to have David with us today. We appreciate it.
And today
David, I'm going to light my cigar.
I'm lighting mine.
What are we smoking today?
So we are smoking the Blanco 9
Yes.
in Lancero. Lancero is this Lancero is a classic Lancero 7x38. This is a 100% Nicaraguan puro.
Nice.
Triple ligero in the filler, early priming. This is important. I'll explain later. 3 different ligeros from 3 different regions in the country, and it also has an oscuro corojo or dark corojo wrapper, which gives it a wonderful flavor. Manufactured at our family's factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. This cigar is available in European countries throughout the United States, Canada, and Central and South America. I don't believe this particular cigar is distributed in Asia or in the Middle East at the moment.
I don't think we have Asians on the line.
It might be in Pakistan. We have distribution in Pakistan, if you can believe that. And I believe he did order some in Pakistan.
Nice. Thank you for the intro.
I am surprised that
3/4 body cigar, a little bit fuller. This cigar has received accolades from around the world. iRobusto.com, which is a website you can check it out that does annual reviews of the year. This was the #1 cigar of the year as voted by consumers in 2018. Over 70 cigars had to choose from. This was #1. We also got a 95 in CA with this, a 93 in Smoke, a 90 in Cigar Snob, Best Value in Cigar Journal. So this cigar has been recognized around the world.
Beautiful. What a swift ability to be able to get that cigar, man, in 24 hours.
Yes,
It
we
was
did it.
really a miracle that we were looking
I'm
at.
glad you were able to get it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was properly humidified and conditioned.
The cello is yellow, man, like no tomorrow. The oil is like, yeah. Sorry.
I just want to take 2 minutes, not even 1 minute, to welcome everyone that is watching us, because I see there's a lot of comments. I know you guys can't see it, and there is people that are on Facebook that they have to do. They have to press for their link that we could see who's putting the comments. So that's what I want to just say a couple words in Arabic, if you don't mind, David. بدي رحب بالجميع. مرحبا، اهلا وسهلا فيكم بحلقه جديده مع باف سيجار. اليوم ضيفنا ديفيد بلانكو. في كتير عالم يمكن ما بتعرفوا او بتعرفوا ما جربوا السيجار تبعه. رحنا استضفناه معنا، وان شاء الله تكون حلقه تعجبكم ونكونوا كيف بدي اقول
كونوا مبسوطين. والكومنتس تروقوا علينا شوي. رح نفوت قد ما فينا كومنتس، بس رح نعطي الشانس اول شيء لديفيد تو يحكي and then نفتح الكومنتس.
بعرف نجاة على الفيسبوك بدي اياها بس تكبس فوق على اللينك على الازرق كرمال تكبس اوكي. بس هيدي
اوكي.
alright.
Perfect. Thank you very much, folks.
Wow.
David, we'll give you the floor. Just say who is David Blanco, what is Blanco Cigars, if you don't mind, and then we'll carry on.
Sure.
Kick it.
So my family, I will start with the family history and then lead into where we're at very shortly, of course. My family has been in the cigar and tobacco, premium cigar tobacco industry since the 1800s, 1886-ish is when our family first started. I am the 5th generation in the family business. But of course, there was a short interlude with our family in the business because of our Cuban heritage. We lost during the Cuban Revolution. My family fled in 1960, 61. Some of our cousins obviously stayed in Cuba, did not get out until a little bit later, 1962. So I was the first one born in the family in the United States. My father's generation, my father came here, and I was born in Chicago. So this is where I am from. If you guys are familiar with accents, this is the accent you hear. That being said, the rest of the family we were separated from. It was only my immediate family that came to the United States. And as I said, in 1962, the rest of the tobacco growing family left, and they went directly to Nicaragua to start again. They had no interest in coming to the United States because they were interested in continuing to begin again the operation that they had and that they lost in Cuba, and they had to go to somewhere in Central America or possibly a Caribbean island. They chose Nicaragua. So the family has been in Nicaragua growing tobacco there since 1962. I re-entered as an adult the industry at the age of 25, 26. And this was 1997, 96. I started dabbling in the industry because up until that point, premium cigars wasn't really an option as a career path and career field because it wasn't as popular back then. With the advent of cigar aficionado, there was a cigar boom, and I was smoking cigars at a very young age as a young man, the only one, as a matter of fact, in my age group that my friends thought I was crazy for smoking cigars, but I grew up with that heritage, with my family smoking cigars. I grew up with Cuban coffee, Dominoes, and cigars. This is the Cuban heritage, right? So that being said, I suddenly became a subject matter expert with my friends.
Havana Club, huh?
Very good, very good. I have the Coca-Cola to go with it right here.
You drink Coca-Cola with the cigar.
Coffee.
What's that?
You drink Coca-Cola with the cigar.
Well, yeah, but I have some brown tea.
That's the magic word.
That being said,
I have a Connecticut shade.
There you go. To continue with the story, I suddenly, with the boom in the industry, this gave me an opportunity to reconnect with my family's heritage and the legacy of my family's business. And in 1996, 97, I approached my father and my uncle, who both were born in Cuba, and said, I'd like to get into the industry, and why don't we reignite the brands that we had and the business that we had that we lost in Cuba. And so in 1998, we incorporated into Los Blancos Cigar Company. Los Blancos in Spanish simply meaning the Blancos Cigar Company, because there were three of us, my father, myself, and my uncle. My uncle, shortly after that, in 2000, had to leave as a result of illness. We closed our factory in 2000, which we opened in 98 because of his illness, because he ran the factory day to day. And then in 2000, we called because we could not run our own operation anymore with regard to the factory presence because Francisco was out. We called our cousins in Nicaragua and asked if we could move production to their facility. And this is what we did. Their surname is Plasencia, so some of you may be familiar with Nestor Plasencia. He and my father are cousins. My father called him and asked, and he said, of course, come. And I have been there ever since. I met my mentor there, a man by the name of Elio Oviedo Dominguez. This man was world famous. For those of you that are not familiar with his name, because most master blenders are not familiar, it's usually the face. This gentleman, I had the opportunity of learning as a sponge for as much as I could for 11 years, about around 11 years before he passed. To give you some of his accolades so you understand my education as a blender, which I've been blending now for almost 23 years. He was the master roller and production manager at the H. Upman factory prior to the revolution in Cuba. He was also the president of the Cigar Rolling Union in Cuba. and in his own right, a master blender. He is credited and responsible for the blending of the Monte Cristo number 2.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
So
Nice.
this is the man that I had an opportunity to learn from. And I did not take it for granted. I cherished every moment that I had with him, learned as much as I could. And as a result, today, I am manufacturing not only all the brands that I own, which are approximately 6, I think now, but I also manufacture for 12 different companies that we produce cigars around the world. And some of those cigars are distributed in the Middle East as we speak, but not with the Blanco name on it. But they are coming from my family's factory and blended by me. So we are looking to continue to develop our distribution chain. As you're familiar, if you are familiar with Plasencia, I can make as many cigars through them as I have need for. So if I have a demand, I can establish distribution in a country. I can produce enough to handle that distribution channel and growth and scaling, because they are the largest tobacco growers and cigar manufacturers pretty much in Central America. So I'm very lucky to be affiliated and part of that family. You can't choose your family. I was very lucky to have that opportunity.
Yes.
So that being said, I am talking to you from Clearwater area in Florida, which is the Tampa Bay area, which is where
Clearwater.
Yeah.
I lived there for 5 years.
Then you know it's beautiful.
I know Clearwater very good. I have a lot of family there.
It's beautiful here. I like I said, I grew up in Chicago, but I had an opportunity to move back to Florida. I did. And so we have our North American distribution facility here and our corporate headquarters. We also have a distribution facility in Europe for the EU, and for which we handle most of the EU and some places outside of the EU as well. But we're continuing to develop our supply chain as well as our products and new blends, which is my job. So that in a net snapshot is who Blanco Cigars is.
Beautiful.
That is an awesome, quite of awesome explanation, and people that you're connected with makes it just
easy.
Great acquaintance, man.
I tell people all the time I'm a 23-year overnight success.
Overnight.
Yeah. Nothing in this industry or anything worthwhile really doing ever comes easy or overnight. You have to just put in your time, stick with it. If it's your passion, whatever it is in your life, try harder. If you don't first succeed, never give up. And this industry was with all of the, in the world, that is to say, the legislative efforts, the taxation efforts, the anti-smoking policies, we face this as an industry around the world. And we have to continue to fight for our liberty and for our freedoms and for our preference to enjoy premium handmade cigar product. This is premium cigar, not cigarette. It's not hookah. It's not pipe smoking. If you care to enjoy those things, that's fine. You're an adult. We only cater and promote our products for adult usage responsibly, and we wish that everybody would respect that in the various governments and allow us to do so. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're not trying to sell to children. This is strictly for adult use.
Absolutely.
And you know, the years is coming now, year by year, there's a lot of cigar smokers. If you notice, there is more people smoking cigars and enjoying it, and they start knowing what we feel.
Yes, absolutely. So your warranty, by the way, on that ash is expired. If it falls, it's not my fault.
I know. You know, I'm a type of person that love when the ash goes down by herself. I hate, taking out the ash.
What do you guarantee, an inch?
At least an inch. At least an inch. After that, you're on your own.
It's a great cigar. Actually, it's a great cigar. It's
honestly, I have to say so. For a triple ligero, I thought it would be a little bit more of but it's so smooth.
So let me explain shortly about that triple ligero, because I mentioned early priming, which is the key to why you're not getting the pepper blast and the full flavor of other ligeros that you would. For example, I'll use La Flor as an example. La Flor Dominicana, very spicy, very peppery. The reason that is versus what we do is because we pick our tobacco earlier. So usually in the plant, the leaves grow in pairs from the bottom to the top, 6, 7, 8 primings, depending on the varietal. And you start at the bottom, you pick the first 2 leaves, and then you wait a few days, and you pick the next couple leaves, and then you pick the next couple leaves. So as a result, the top leaves, the ligero leaves as we call them, from the bottom is seco, viso, and ligero. The ligero leaves are the most mature leaves. They're the thickest leaves. They've been on the plant the longest. And they're also, as a result of the top leaves on the plant will shunt more nutrients to those leaves to protect the rest of the stem of the plant from the harsh heat and temperatures in the Central American area, or depending on where you grow your tobacco, in the high heat and intense humidity issues. That being said, we pick from the bottom and then we jump to the top, and then we pick them. So they are not as mature, they are not as thick, they're not as full of material, and as a result, they haven't developed that full starchy thickness that you would get had we picked it normally last. So what I have done is I've been able to regulate the amount of spice and pepper by picking it at a certain time, like a banana, how ripe it is on the plant. Same thing with the leaf. We pick it a little earlier so it doesn't develop those characteristics that we don't want to overpower the cigar.
Wow. Okay, that's a good.
That's a different technique that we usually know about.
So what we get is a more balanced blend. So you might get some spice and pepper retrohale through the nose.
Right.
You notice it's not all in your mouth.
Mhm.
It's not like hot pepper or spicy in your mouth as much. Very subtle, very clean finish with this cigar. It doesn't hit you in the back of the throat. But if you push it through your nose on the retrohale, that's where you get that little extra.
Yes.
What we say in Spanish, pica.
Pica.
We had David some questions we wanted to ask, and at the same time we have a couple of videos that we want to show while you're on the plantation, the processing of between plantation, blending and whatnot.
Sure.
One question I would say, like everybody on the live today is always triggered. Everybody goes into the cigars and they want to become master blenders. As you said, you've been doing that job for the last 20 somewhat years.
23
tell us
years,
a little
yes.
bit. Yeah, tell us a little bit about you told us about the start, but what does it take to become a master blender?
Well, first it takes a passion to want to do it. And as I mentioned, I think we may be showing some of the videos of the 4 elements of creation of a premium cigar. I won't go into that to ruin the videos, but one of those is blending, right? And this is the one that I chose personally to become an expert in. Like anything else, building anything that you want, let's take a house, for example. There are different facets and different expertise, whether it's the masonry work or the electrical work or the plumbing or the finished carpentry. You can't generally be a master at everything. You may be a jack of all trades and have a knowledge and be able to do it all, but to truly master one thing, you have to dive into it. I chose the blending aspect. So to become a blender with experience, you must learn the other 4 to understand how it affects your expertise, and you must understand how you can manipulate the others so the material you have to work with, you can also improve or create something based on something in the other part of the chain. For example, fermentation. Fermentation is the process prior to blending. You grow the tobacco, you ferment the tobacco, you blend with the tobacco, then you roll the cigars. These are the 4, right? So when you blend, you have to take into consideration the material that you're using and how it was fermented, how to get certain things out of the tobacco. So how you ferment is very important. I had to learn that. How it is rolled is also very important because I can put leaves in different places geographically in the cigar to have a certain outcome. So I had to learn that aspect as well. Farming, you have to understand what's in the soil. So how those things in the soil affect the flavor of the tobacco that you're then going to ferment, that you're then going to blend with, that you're then going to roll into a cigar. So these chains you have to have an understanding. Particularly in blending, to understand how to become the blender, you have to have a knowledge base of all of the tobaccos at your disposal that you're using. This takes time. So you have to then smoke every element of, for example, most people, I don't know if you're aware, but for those of you that are, this is a review. Most cigars have 4 to 5, even 6 different tobaccos in it. Could be from 5, 6 different countries. So I have to understand which each element, each different tobacco brings to the table, brings to the blend, and how I can then combine them to create something new. Kind of like a chef or somebody that makes wine, because most wines are blends of grapes. You have to taste each grape to get an understanding of what happens when it comes together. Similarly, as a chef, if you're creating some type of recipe, which is what blending is, creating a recipe, you have to understand the different elements and taste them individually, and then understand the synergy that they have when they combine. So I had to go through the different tobaccos that our family has, and we are, since the Plasencias are the largest growers of tobacco in Central America, they have the most variety, and they're also the largest buyers because they make cigars for so many different people in all of their factories. So they also have the 15, 16 different countries that they purchase tobacco from. So I had to catalog everything that they possibly could give me and create notes. I had to smoke every individual leaf rolled up into a little, we call it porrito. It's a little 3-inch cigar, very small lumen. It's just one leaf, one type of tobacco, and then I take notes. How does it burn? What is the flavor profile? What is the aroma, right? All of these things, because smell and taste are two different things. People confuse them sometimes. People talk about full body and full flavor. Why are there two different things? Because they are exactly that. Strength and flavor are two different things. I can have a cigar with a lot of flavor, but not be strong. I can have a cigar that's very strong without a lot of flavor. So these are things that you have to understand when you're discussing cigars, how to then verbalize. For example, when I blend a cigar for 12 different companies right now, I was mentioning I make for other people. When they come to me, I ask them, what kind of cigar would you like me to make? Now, they got to verbalize what exactly they're looking for in a cigar, which is usually very difficult because nobody really goes into what do I want? I want a good cigar. Yeah, what does that mean to you?
Yes.
First, is it mild, medium, or full flavor? And then is it mild, medium, or full body? And then what are the specific notes and tones and aromas that you're trying to elicit from that cigar? And that's when we run into problems. And then I go, and then I have to give them adjectives, right? Leathery, woody, sweet, aromatic,
spicy,
citrus, pepper, spice, bitter. All of these. I want that. I want that. See, once I start planting it in their head, now they start understanding. I'm like, so I usually ask them, what kind of cigar do you generally smoke now? Because if that, I can tell what you smoke now, I can tell at least what you like, and then I can go. It's like saying, going to a shoe store. What kind of shoe would you like? A gym shoe, a basketball shoe, a cross-training shoe, or a dress shoe? You can't just go to a shoemaker and say, make me a shoe.
Yeah.
So it depends on the usage and what you're trying to accomplish. And so all of these things, categorizing and cataloging, all of these things, we have 172 different varietals of tobacco. So you can imagine the size of my portfolio of information that I had to take notes and study and understand. Once I understood each of the individual issues, how do they combine and how do they change? So this is a process that takes decades. I am telling you right now for a reason. It takes decades. And the reason is you will find a lot of people out there saying they're blenders. Master blenders. First of all, I personally don't like using the term master blender because it's not for me to determine if I'm a master.
It's for the people to determine for you.
And for my peers who I see that have been doing this for much longer than I have. When they tell me that I am doing such a good job, that they feel that I have deserved and coveted the title of master blender, so be it. But I am a blender. And the other people have decided to call me a master blender. Okay. I mean, I guess my cigars are good enough for 12 other companies to come and say, I want you to make my cigars.
Well, until now, yes, we could call you a master with the cigars. Yes.
It's fantastic, this cigar, man.
Now, I want to ask you something. I don't know if I could now. No, you were talking about the taste, leathery, woody. How could you come to the conclusion to make these flavors? How could you came out with these flavors?
So I don't. It's the tobacco talking to me, right? So I will smoke the tobacco leaf.
Okay, only the tobacco leaf
by itself, and then I sit to myself and I say, what does it taste like? What in my mind is triggered by that taste? My memory, right? What experience Have I tasted that? Or, and by the way, this is the other big one. If you guys do not retrohale, for those of you that are watching, you are missing an entire dimension of the cigar that we as blenders purposely put into that cigar, because taste is only 2/3 of the equation.
Olfactory.
The other third is the olfactory system. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can only get that through retrohale, not this way. It has to be from the top down, which is this.
There's a lot of people, they have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
I gave a master class on that. But before I go into that, to answer your question, how do I get those tastes and how do I determine? I determine it by taste and by the olfactory retrohale that we do. So when I do that with this cigar, guys, let's just test it. Let's test the theory. Can you guys all retrohale? Do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't. Well, we're going to teach you in a moment. But for those of you that do,
yes, he does.
for those of you that do, and those two, you two are, we're all smoking the same cigar. What do you get out of the retrohale? What now? Not taste. What aroma do you get from the retrohale? Tell me. Wait for the smoke to be gone. The burn will dissipate. Once the smoke is gone, now what is it that you're coating in the palate? What do you guys get out of that?
Little peppery. At the end, you know, when the ends of the smoke comes out, you can feel like, you know, the peppery.
How about right now, though? Right now, what are you getting?
Dark coffee.
Okay, you get dark coffee.
Yes.
Roasted coffee. What are you getting? Anything else?
There's a bit of sweetness, but I don't know what it is though. But that's the aftertaste.
Are you getting a little bit of a woodiness of some sort of smell of some type of wood?
Yes.
How about a little? Some people get it, but some people don't. Are you getting any leathery?
Yes, I was gonna say it. At the end, now, you know, after you get all the smokes and couples, you get a little
that smell of leather.
So now I ask you the question you asked me. How did you come up with those flavors?
You know what? By really, you know, I just noticed something, because now usually when I retrohale, I just retrohale and wait. But by the thinking, you know, like I'm retrohaling and I'm concentrating on what I'm gonna get, that's where when you get all those flavors. That's true.
You are on your way, my young Padawan.
Okay, I can become a blender. But seriously, yes, this is how we're trying to teach a lot of people how to retrohale, because we keep telling them that's where you're gonna really taste the cigar. You know, it's by retrohaling.
Absolutely. So if you guys, I'm not trying to plug anybody else, but I did a small 6-minute video on YouTube with my friend Brian Glenn from Cigar Session and how to retrohale, because I did a show with him like I'm doing with you, and he got so many questions on. David talked about this retrohaling thing, but how do you do it, and what's the deal with that? So I did the video a few years ago, and I think it's over 70 or 80,000 views on YouTube. And this is when I realized we as an industry do not teach or educate people on how to smoke a cigar. We teach people how to cut it and how to light it.
Sure.
But we don't ever do anything else. We don't do pairings as much. We don't teach people how to smoke it properly to get out of it what we put into it. So at all of my events now, I generally do a seminar, 5-minute, 6-minute seminar on how to retrohale and get out of a cigar the most that you can. So I will be happy to do it now if we have a couple minutes for you.
Yes, please. The time is all yours.
Please.
By all means, though, you can go to how to retrohale a cigar and look for my video or the video with my face and watch it there too.
I just want to I say it in Arabic for the people that are watching us. What we're gonna do then?
And if you guys want to translate it as I'm going, that's fine.
Okay.
Because people, they're asking us, so you know we're gonna do that. I think.
Okay. You have to put subtitles under me right here. The whole thing.
شباب ديفيد رح يعمل ديمونستريشن على كيف واحد يعمل ريترو هيل لحتى تقدروا تستطعموا النكهات تبع السيجار. رح جرب ترجم بنفس الوقت مع اللي عم بيقوله ديفيد.
واللي عم بيسالنا عن السيجار، بس لانه سالونا شو عم ندخن، هيدا السيجار فيه تريبل ليهيرو، يعني اول مره بندخن داني بعتقد سيجار فيه تريبل ليهيرو، ومثل ما قالنا ما بتشوف القوه اللي فيه مثل كيف لما حدا بيقول لك تريبل ليهيرو يعني شيء واو، او بقى كان عم بيحكي
كتير.
عم نجرب هلا نترجم لكم شباب تنشوف.
هلا there's one thing I want to add to the retrohaling. Through retrohaling, exactly, it happened to me sometimes that it works, but most of the times, 99% doesn't work. So retrohaling, the art of retrohaling is to cap another 300 flavors that your mouth doesn't cap. So this is the essence of doing retrohaling, because there's a lot of aromas that the master blenders are trying to transfer to us as smokers, that if you don't retrohale, you are missing. And I know that I miss. So I'm looking forward for that small.
Let's see if we can get you here with this.
I'm a scuba diver instructor. So every single bit of air that I take in my mouth, I let it out from my nose. But in this smoke, never works.
There's
I
a
don't
trick.
know.
There's a trick. By the way, are you a PADI or NAUI instructor?
I'm an INTD, International Association of Technical Divers.
Got you. I also did some diving. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So here's how we start. Now, over-exaggerate the steps that I instruct you, and I will do it slowly, step by step, and then I will do it again, and I will repeat it, and then you'll understand. So the first thing you do is bring the smoke into your mouth and let it now, after you bring the smoke in your mouth, like sucking a straw, bringing in the liquid, right? You're going to let the liquid sit on the top of your tongue. While you're doing that, clench your jaw. This is key in the beginning to understand. Once you get it, you won't have to. But in the beginning, like this. The smoke is just sitting on my tongue. That's it. Clench your jaw. Don't do this. Clench your jaw and just let it sit on your tongue. Don't puff out your cheeks. So here's step one. Now, there's two more steps. You do them simultaneously, and that's it. That's it. Here it is. Bring the tongue to the roof of the mouth, the top of the palate. Just push the tongue up. What that does is it takes up the space where the smoke is. So the smoke starts going back. And as it goes back, when you're pushing your tongue up, at the same time, you blow your nose, like you're blowing your nose. So the smoke will go back and then right out through your nose. But it'll only do that for two reasons. The space has been taken up, and you don't create more space by doing this. The minute you puff out your cheeks, you just move the smoke from your tongue area and push it to your cheeks. You can't do that. So it looks like this. Simple as that. So try it at home. Try it here, you guys, a few times. I'd love to see you, see if you can do it on the screen for me. Try a few times. Let's see if you can smoke, clench the jaw, clench it, raise the tongue, and blow out through your nose.
No.
It's gonna take practice. It's gonna take some practice.
That's pretty much it.
Let's explain it in Arabic now.
That's you, not me.
Go ahead. I know.
Okay. So أول مرحلة لما بتسحب.
I'll walk you through it. Bring the smoke into your mouth, clench your jaw. You can say that in Arabic.
Okay. Say it again.
Bring the smoke in your mouth, clench your jaw.
Okay. تسحب الدخان وبتشد الحنك تبعك
لفوق.
بتسكر لفوق.
And the smoke sits on your tongue.
والدخان بيقعد على لسانك.
At the next step, two things at the same time. Raise your tongue, exhale through your nose.
وثالث مرحلة بتعلي لسانك لفوق وبتنفخ مناخيرك لورا.
لبرا.
So the smoke goes right around.
والدخان دغري بيطلع ما بتخلي له مسافة إنه يروح من محل مفتوح.
Key is keeping your jaw tight and not puffing out your teeth.
واو. السر هو إنه تخلي الحنك تمك مسكر وما تنفخهم
ما تعمل هيك no.
Now, once you get the hang of it, you don't need to drag in all the smoke throughout your nose the entire time. You just do it to refresh your palate. There you go. Hey, you got to do this if you're okay.
Yeah.
But let me ask you something, David. Is it good to retrohale a lot?
You don't have to. And that's what I was trying to say is that you can just do it to refresh your palate. Every 4 or 5 drags. When you start feeling dissipating and going away, you want to refresh it, you can just puff a little bit through. So you can do this. And then blow the rest out through your mouth.
Right.
It's just to refresh. So don't feel that you have to just blow all the smoke out your nose like a dragon. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Not necessary.
اوكي سو الدخان مش ضروري انه تطلعه كله من مناخيرك، يعني فيك تعمل وتطلع شوي من مناخيرك والباقي كله من التم، وبعدين مش ضروري تعمل ريتروهيل كل الوقت. انت عم تدخن بتعمل بس لتعمل ريفرش.
Refresh. Oh, that's in Arabic, huh?
Yeah, there is a question for you, David, that somebody's asking. Which cigar from Blanco would you recommend us to start discovering the brand?
Well, if you like medium to 3/4 bodies, I would say the Blanco 9, and I have multiple sizes. I happen to like the Lancero, but I have Robusto, Toro, Double Corona, Torpedo, many different sizes. The Blanco 9 is my best seller and my highest rated.
There are
other blends.
Amazing.
I have other blends. I have.
It's working, brother. It's working.
You got it? I have the Blanco Liga Exclusiva de Familia, Connecticut, Pennsylvania Broadleaf Maduro.
I think that's the one we got.
Oh yeah, David, that's my next one.
That's the next one.
I have another brand, Primos Estate, Rosado and Habano Maduro.
Oh.
I have a new cigar that I just brought out this year, Prince Hall, Habano and Maduro.
Wow.
When you say Habano, David, it is Habano 2000 or?
No, it's normal Habano. Habano 2000 is a hybrid. If it was Habano 2000, I would say Habano 2000, or Habano Criollo 98 is another hybrid, right? I tend to use normal, regular Habano. Another one we have here is the Above and Beyond.
Oh yeah,
This
okay.
just
US
came out as
flag.
well. This one just got a 91 in Cigar and Spirits magazine. This one was rated number 2 cigar of the year and also got a 92 in Smoke magazine. This one was rated best value cigar of the year in Cigar Aficionado, the Primos Estate. And then we have a limited Blanco 9. This is the JT Limitado. This cigar is 100% Ligero.
Ooh, 100.
With wrapper
Wow.
also?
Not the wrapper,
Wrapper.
though.
Yes, the wrapper. It is an Oscuro Habano Ligero wrapper.
Escuro,
Okay.
Habano.
We're gonna come back.
Okay, this is how you have to explain.
Please.
Because there is a lot of counter events. And after that, we're gonna take about 5 minutes because people they want to ask a couple of questions about what you just said at the beginning.
So
Okay.
the word in Spanish Oscuro simply means dark.
Dark.
So it refers to the fermentation and the level of color. It's not quite, and I'll use this as an example. You might be able to see here. You see this one is a little bit darker.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Maduro. Maduro in Spanish means ripe.
Mhm.
So like a banana, when it becomes very, very dark and it's very ripe and sweet, we call that plátanos or bananas, plátanos maduro, ripe. So that word Maduro simply means ripe. If you heard the word Maduro, or if you heard it in English, ripe, you would know it'd be dark, very dark. But before we get to the fermentation of Maduro, it's a staged process. It slowly gets darker. This is not quite as long a fermentation as this. So this is not considered a Maduro. It's considered a Oscuro. Oscuro.
Okay, but the question is it the same Ligero you put inside? That's what you make the wrapper with it?
No, because it comes from a different region. We have 4 major growing regions and 2 minors in Nicaragua. We have Ometepe, Condega, Jalapa, and Esteli. Then we have a few others. One is Fantasma, which is brand new, which we're now actually moving some tobacco from there to Jalapa. And then we also have Pueblo Nuevo, which is also a smaller minor area that we grow. So I use tobacco from throughout the country because what that does is it gives me, even if I used all Habano Ligero, the Ligero from each one of those regions would taste different because the soil is different. Remember, it's about the soil. I do use a lot of Habano, but in that particular blend. But I use tobaccos from around the world. For example, the Primos. This is a Habano and Nicaraguan Honduran blend with a half a leaf of Peruvian Ligero.
Ligero.
This wrapper on this one is a Pennsylvania broadleaf Maduro from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, grown by the Amish.
The Amish.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have Ecuadorian Sumatra. I've blended cigars with Cameroon wrappers before. Ecuadorian Sumatran wrapper. I've blended cigars with an Arapiraca Brazilian wrapper. I use different wrappers from around the world, as many varieties as I can. I use Colombian tobacco. I use Panamanian tobacco. I use Paraguayan tobacco, which is very rarely used. Paraguay, a small little country in South America. I use Dominican tobacco as well, not as much. I have a new cigar coming out with a Mexican San Andreas wrapper. So I use tobacco from all over. And this is the benefit of working at a place like the Plasencia factory, where I'm a master blender in residency there, that I have every color of the rainbow. If I was a painter, I have every color.
You have every color. Wow, that's great.
Okay, guys. Anybody wants to answer a question, ask a question, go ahead. اللي بده يسأل أي سؤال يتفضل وراح يجاوب عليكم. Until now, I want to ask. You see, I don't know if I'm smoking faster than you guys, but
that's okay. I'm talking. Since I'm talking, I smoke slower.
Okay. Now, where did he go? Now, I want to ask you something. Do you get any wrapper from Cuba or anything or any nothing?
You can't.
No, that's I know.
We have Cuban seed. We have the knowledge and we have the experience of working in Cuba as a family for generations. But there is absolutely no actual Cuban material in our cigars. That is to say, that came from Cuba. So that is something that we cannot use if we are to operate in the United States. And since we're a United States-based company, because of the embargo with Cuba, it is prohibited for any type of commerce with the island.
Okay.
But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes. Do you see the question on the screen, David?
I can see the logo is close to Macanudo if there is a link between them. Actually, there is no link, and it is not close at all to Macanudo, but I'd be happy to describe what it is. I'm just looking to see if I have something that I can show you. Have anything on my desk. I didn't think of having a blow-up of my logo, but other than my shirt. Let me see. There we go. I can hold the business card up closer. There we go. So what you see in the center, of course, the Blanco name above it, but what you see in the center is a shield. This is the Blanco family crest from Spain. That is my family crest. Nothing to do with anybody else but Blanco. Of course, you have the crown of Spain. Since our family is from Spain, you have the Spanish crown above it, the two lions on either side. And then if you look at the coins, I know it's kind of close. The two top coins are the Spanish, we call escudo, or the Spanish seal, because that's where our family came from. And then the next two in the middle is the Cuban seal, because our family then went to Cuba. Now on the screen, I guess to your right, that is the Honduran seal, because we have operations in Honduras. And on the left, which you see a triangle, that is the seal of Nicaragua. Mm-hmm. So, and then we have tobacco leaves around the bottom to make it more symmetrical and balanced. And the words on the bottom, which you can't see in a circular area, it says Gran Fábrica de Tabaco, Esteli, Nicaragua, which means simply the large factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. So nothing at all to do with Macanudo. Maybe it's from a distance. Maybe I guess it could look like that, over here. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it is very family centric. This has everything to do about family. It is a family heritage, a family legacy, and our lineage. And it's something that I hope, obviously, to pass to the 6th generation and then to the 7th and so on. We hope that it doesn't come to an end with me. Because I don't do that.
Danny,
David, this is
do you
Z
want to
from
play
Chicago.
the videos? Go ahead. Z, you know Z.
Z from Chicago, yes, of course.
He's basically said, "Good to see you, David."
Pleasure is mine, Z. I can't see you, but if it's the same Z I'm thinking about, I don't know.
Yeah,
which-
he is.
708.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Kefala Kabibi. That's it. No more Arabic. Z, I hope to see you the next time I'm in Chicago again. And I hope you're doing well and that the cigars are doing well.
Danny, you want to start with the videos?
Oh,
Wait, we have 5 minutes questions. People are asking questions.
Sure.
Just 5 minutes.
Sure.
somebody's asking me a question about another brand that I own that I have not even talked about yet.
That's true, right?
Mohammed knows a little bit about it. The question is, can you please give us some information about the CO cigars? So I mentioned Brian Glenn earlier. Brian Glenn is the owner of CigarObsession.com. He has become a friend of mine, and he lives very close to me. So I am a regular guest on Cigar Obsession Live, and he does reviews of my cigars as well as cigars from all over the world. That being said, he was interested in having a cigar made with his name on it as a marketing tool to get and reach people in the areas that were not as social media savvy, let's say. So what better way to do that than have a cigar available in cigar shops that they can then search him out, and he would widen and broaden his base on YouTube, which is his primary platform, and his website, so that he can grow his viewership. Because at the time, Cigar Obsession was monetized on YouTube. Since then, not so much because of the changes with YouTube, but he was looking to grow his following, and a cigar with his name on it would be one way to do that. Now, he does not own the blends, nor does he own the brand, nor does he have any financial interest in it. He didn't want any financial interest in it because he felt it would jeopardize his objectivity when it comes to reviewing cigars. So he says, I'm not in the business. I'm a professional smoker. To say that I am here just to give you what I get out of cigars. I'm not financially vested in any business at all. So he didn't want it. Now, he does approve the blends that I provide, and because I want him to at least enjoy them. I say, hey, man, your name is on it. It's CO. Even though Cigar Obsession Cigars is my company, and my brand, I should say, under my company, it also is affiliated with CigarObsession.com and your YouTube channel. So he approves all of the blends, for sure. To tell you a little bit more information, I have 4 blends. The 4th is about to be released in, I hope, the next month and a half. The first one I mentioned earlier was an Ecuadorian Sumatran blend. It comes in 4 sizes. And you can read about all of this information and find out more on our website at blancocigars.com. And you can see all of the product that I personally own, not the stuff that I make for other people necessarily. But the Cigar Obsession first third is an Ecuadorian Sumatran blend with a wrapper from Ecuador, Sumatra. The Cameroon is the second third. We call the second third. And the final third is a Habano from Nicaragua and full flavor. So we have completely different ranges in all 3. Now, the 4th will be that Mexican San Andreas I was talking about a minute ago. So that is what we have, 4 sizes in each. So that's 16 different SKUs in 4 different blends. There will be a 5th release, assuming the FDA here in the United States doesn't keep me from being able to release any new products in the near future. So this is something we're under a little pressure with right now.
Dave, Z wanted to say personally hi to you, so there he is.
Oh, Z!
David,
Yeah.
It's been a long time, my friend. How are you? How are you doing? It's been a very long time.
Thank you. I heard it.
Good.
Yes, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Very well. How is the shop?
The shop is doing very well. We're busy and busy with the brand as well. Thanks God, no
Good.
complaints.
Inshallah.
You know, it's been a quiet change the last couple of years. Yeah, last time you came here was about what? Probably 14 years ago. Or 12 years ago, something like that.
I've been there since, and I saw your partner. You were not there the last time I was there. But I was there probably 2 years ago. I stopped in, but you were not there.
Yeah, Yeah, my partner passed away about 2 years ago. Probably you came right before he was starting to get really sick.
Yes, that was the last time. So when I heard of his passing, I was very upset. It was very shocking to me.
Yeah,
we lost. Maybe it was 3 years ago.
Yes,
yeah,
we lost good guys.
It's horrible. My heart goes out to you guys. And for those of you that are not aware, the reason I'm asking him how the shop is doing, because they also have a retail shop, is because of COVID. And they're in the Chicagoland area. Illinois cracked down very hard with COVID restrictions. And you can tell better than I how long you were closed. People couldn't come in the store. So it was very devastating for business for most companies. And this is why I asked how he's doing.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. It was actually still challenging time. Things are opening up a little better right now, but it is a challenging time for the business and for ourselves. But you know what? We just hang in there and do the best we can. You know?
That's all we can do. That's all we can do. I look forward to seeing you the next time I'm in Chicago.
Yeah, please make sure you contact me and come and see me. You know, this is your home away from home anytime.
Thank you, my friend.
And I'm glad you're in with Danny and Dory, the great guys, and yes, you know, and I've been watching and hearing, and I know you're full of knowledge with cigars, and you know, God bless you. Just wanted to say hello and give you the room to talk and give some of the experience to the fellas out there.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Zed.
Thank you, Zia Habibi. Thank you.
Love you guys. Best of luck.
David, good question. This second third, which I call usually the soul of the cigar, is super sweet. Unbelievably beautiful notes of sweetness.
Imagine if you could just retrohale it, how much more you would get.
It worked. Okay, it worked 3 times so far. You got me into trouble now.
Okay, we have a question here from Club Limitada.
On one of the live sessions, I'm assuming a guest from Nicaragua said farmers growing tobacco more than the demand. Manufacturers rolling cigars more than the demand. So do you agree there's an oversupply? Very interesting question. This becomes a logistical issue. The reason I say that is because any tobacco that we are growing right now is not going to be used in cigars for at least 3 years. So our forecasting for the growing seasons our calendar is 3, 4, 5, 6 years out, because we have to make sure that we have enough, for example, Habano wrapper to be able to make cigars not only for today, but what about if my company grows? How much am I going to need next year? Well, if I need it next year, I had to grow it 3 years ago. So it's forecasting of growth. So can there be an overgrowth of tobacco? Yeah, there can. And the reason there is because forecasting is not an exact science. It's an educated guess based on the market need, demand, and looking at statistics of how the market has grown, not only in general, but for your particular brand and company. So we have to forecast, which is not exact science, and estimate what we can do. Now, for example, COVID severely crippled the ability to do any type of business at all. So is there an overgrowth of material that we planned from 2 or 3 years ago for this year or last year to be used? Yeah, there is. So we have at this point a lot of tobacco because things were retarded and slowed in the our sales ability throughout the world. And then you can ask, a number of people that. So, but it's an accordion, it's elastic. So when we come out of this with, everybody open and back to doing business as normal, there might be a glut, and then it might be consumed more rapidly than normal, right? So then we will deplete the stocks, but it is always important to have enough I can tell you this for sure, mentioning what I just said. If we wiped out every field that we had today with some incredible storm, and it took out all of Central America, and all the crops that are in the field planted right now were wiped out, wouldn't affect us for the next 5 years.
Wow.
And over 5 years, we would plant a little more here, a little more there. to make up the difference for the loss.
Danny,
It's not exact science.
thank you, Marwan, for the question. Danny, we have a couple of more questions, and then if you want to play the videos, it's gonna, we want to respect
we can
everybody's
stop the
time.
questions for now and just play the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play with videos for a bit and see what. I'm gonna try to share the screen here, so guys, give me a second.
Today we're missing our guy that does all that to
Our tech guy.
us, you know.
No audio.
With bilones, or big bales of tobacco, as you see behind me. These are about 2,000 pounds each. This is one of the 4 tenets of making a great premium cigar. You need great tobacco grown in the fields. You need proper fermentation. You need exquisite blending. And then you need great rolling. If you don't have any of those, you're going to have a problem. Or any one of those is a flawed, you're going to have a problem. So what we have here is some tobaccos from the bottom of the plant, which is called seco, the middle of the plant, which is called viso, and the top of the plant, which is called ligero. These are aged about 9-10 months at this moment. It takes longer than that to properly ferment the different types of tobacco, depending on where they're at, because seco is going to be much more delicate material than the ligero, which is thicker. So it takes longer to do the complete change, which is a chemical biological decomposition of the leaf. That being said, you can see that we're packing a pilon here, stacking it for it to be then covered, and then the heat generated naturally causes the fermentation process to occur. So this wrapper, you're going to use this as wrapper, as still ammonia. If you smell ammonia in your cigars, that means it's not completely fermented. This is how you know when you have properly fermented tobacco. So we have some wonderful wrapper over here.
Are you guys able to see this? Because it's frozen for me.
This is Habano from Jalapa.
I don't know. Me too. It's frozen. I don't know why.
Out of this bale.
You're getting the audio, just not the video.
This is what happens with technical issues.
Back it up a little bit. Maybe it's when loading slower.
It actually froze.
What a shame.
Facebook.
What a shame. Well,
Our technical guy is not here with us today, so
I can tell you a little bit more about what I was talking about. What I was showing was the fermentation area and what we call pilons. Pilons are big piles of tobacco. They are about approximately 2,000 pounds in the factory. And what we do is we stack them up, and this is where the fermentation occurs through heat and temperature and humidity. The pressure of all the weight of the leaf on top of leaf on top of leaf in the center gets very hot. We moisten the leaves to speed up the chemical, biological decomposition of the leaf. And it's just a compost pile. The purpose of this is to leach out the ammonia, which is what you were hearing me say there, so you can then taste the tobacco. Cigarette tobacco is not fermented, which is why when you smell the smoke of a cigarette tobacco, it's very acrid, has a lot of acidic issues going on, and you can't actually taste many notes or tones because the ammonia is so overpowering. We pick the tobacco, we dry it, which is what they do as well in the cigarette industry, and then they chop theirs up. We don't. We go through the process that we were just showing you to then leach out the ammonia so you can tell the notes and tones of the different tobaccos. It's like fermenting the grapes in the wine process, right? And after that, not only does it leach out most, if not all, it's supposed to leach out all of the ammonia if you do it properly over a certain period of time, which can take over a year. But at the end of that, we also have found that it leaches out a certain percentage of the residual nicotine. The nicotine also dissipates during this biological breakdown of the leaf. So as a result, we are able to then work with the leaves and then get certain tastes and aromas that are inherent in the tobacco that we were otherwise unable to get because the ammonia just overpowers it. And in those rooms, what you can't tell in the video is the smell in that room. The smell in that room is very overpowering. So much ammonia. It's incredible. But this is the process that's required to make a premium handmade cigar.
How long does it take? Sorry, go ahead.
It depends. I'll answer your question. It depends on how long it takes based on the type of tobacco it is. The leaves on the bottom, remember, are younger and thinner. So the biological breakdown is less because you don't have as much material. The starches change to sugars, just like in that banana. How long does it take a banana to go from green on the tree to black. Certain period of time, depending on the heat, depending on the humidity. The heat is what causes things to happen faster. And when you add water, you speed up the process as much, just as much. So it can take 6-7 months for some of the very thin leaves, up to 1.5 years for the Maduro. I mean, for the not only the Maduro fermentation, but the Ligero leaves. Ligero leaves are very thick. Remember, they're at the top of the plant usually. So to break them down takes much longer, and it can take up to 1.5 years, depending on the variety.
Do you do double fermentation for your for the pilones?
So you hear a lot of the term, it's triple fermented, it's double fermented. This is a marketing tool, okay? The reality is that when we build those pilones, they have to sit there until they reach a certain temperature, and then they have to sit there for a certain time at that temperature, because where is that heat? When we have the thermometer going into the pilon to the center, they're taking the temperature from the center of the pilon, not at the bottom, not at the top, in the middle. So we're taking the core temperature of that pilon. That means only the tobacco in that general area is that temperature. The stuff on top, not as hot. The stuff on the outside, not as hot as the inside. So guess what happens after we have to let that pilon sit there for a certain amount of time, which is what I was showing in the video, is that we have to disassemble it and then rotate the material. So the inside, which is now fermented, goes to the outside. The top goes to the bottom, and the bottom goes to the top. And then we do this process all over again for months. And then when that's done, we got the center to the certain temperature again. We know that that center area is fermented properly. We disassemble and rotate it again. So they count each one of these rotations as a fermentation. So if you do it 3 times, they will call it triple fermentation.
Okay.
Okay.
The reality is,
Through one process.
This is marketing tool. It's a marketing verbiage. To properly ferment tobacco, it could take 3, 4, 5 times, depending on the type of material, as I just mentioned, and why. So Ligero could take 3, 4, 5 rotations, depending. Do I call that quadruple fermentation? No, it's fermentation, period.
People does, though. People does.
Marketing. Yes, it's a great tool. It's triple fermented. Well, okay.
Then you think
fermented? That's the key. Is it properly fermented entirely? That is the key.
Do you think, Danny, we can watch any of the 410 videos on Facebook?
Right now, the laptop decided to do an update, so I'm gonna let's just ignore this for a bit. We'll get back.
Let's move forward.
I can answer my Facebook questions. So we have Blanco Cigars Facebook page, and then we have, if you're a fan of Blanco Cigars, we have a consumer Facebook page called Blanco Nation, Blanco Cigar Nation. Okay, so that one is a closed group. You can join it. Blanco Cigars is an open Facebook page for everything that we post, and then I personally have a public profile on a page. It's David Blanco, and then of course my personal profile, which is also David Blanco, but you can only max out at 5,000 friends, so I created a public persona. So Instagram, we have Blanco Cigar Company, and then my personal Instagram is David Blanco 007.
Oh yeah, the man, the legend.
Yeah.
Now we have a question here.
So the information above the Blanco 9 shows it has 4 different Ligeros. Are these 4 from one place? No, they are not, from different regions. And is this will be strong like La Gloria? So it's not as strong. First of all, 4 Ligeros in the filler is only for the limited edition, which is a 58 ring gauge. That's why it's got 4 Ligeros. The regular 9 blends that I have, which is not the limited edition, the limited edition is only one size. And the reason that is because the regular 9 blend is in a 52 ring gauge, and of course a 38. So with the amount of filler, I only needed 3. When I made it larger, I had to add another Ligero for circumference. And because the blend, as you expand it, if I only used the 3, it became flat. So I had to adjust the blend, adding another Ligero, I changed the binder from the regular 9 to a Ligero binder. And then instead of using the Oscuro Corojo wrapper, I used the Oscuro Habano Ligero wrapper. So this is 6, 4 in the filler, binder is 5, wrapper is 6. This is 3 in the filler, binder, not Ligero, wrapper, not Ligero, in the normal 9 line. So I hope that clarifies it for you. The limited edition is slightly different. It's a little more amped up, but still very balanced because it's early priming. It's still heavy, but not like a La Flor. I'm not as familiar with the La Gloria that he's referring to. I don't know if I've smoked that, but I usually use the La Flor Dominicana as the standard of peppery, spicy Ligero. They're very good at what they do. If you like that type of cigar, very good cigar. But for those that want a little more balance, flavor, and spice, that's what I provide in the Blanco 9.
We should try this, that new one, Elias. Try to see how we can get it to Canada. You know how hard it is to get cigars to Canada. So
Noob, are you watching? Are you listening? Noob. I say Noob. Noob Cigars is my distributor in Canada.
okay.
We'll make sure he gets it.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure he's watching. I told him about it.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Does too much diversification of cigar change your taste?
There's no such thing as too much diversification. It's just diversification. If your palate, by the way, as you smoke cigars longer, will change. Nothing remains the same. Your body constantly changes. You might find when you were younger that you liked a certain type of food, and as you got older, you don't like it. Similarly with wine, if you're a wine drinker, for example, if you drink red wines, you generally tend to get drier as you experience more red wines. You don't start out dry because it's extreme, but you start out fruitier and crispy wines, and then they slowly get dry because your palate adapts and it becomes more sophisticated and more mature. This is the same thing with cigar smokers. Most cigar smokers don't start with full body cigars.
Mm-hmm.
They start with milder cigars. Macanudo was brought up earlier. That was a good one. Some Romeo and Julietas are mild. Connecticut shades generally are a little bit more mild on the scale. And then you start moving a little bit more down the chain as your palate develops. So too much diversification, it's not relevant to me because I smoke everything and I try to enjoy, I enjoy all aspects of different cigars, depending on the type of tobacco and what I'm pairing with it, what I'm having to drink with it. I can enhance flavors by eating things with it, chocolate, coffee. If you guys have never had chocolate-covered coffee beans, try it. It's awesome. Just don't eat too many because the coffee beans also have caffeine in them.
Yeah.
But those
you want to proceed with the questions, Danny?
Yeah, you want to go ahead? Do you have another one?
Yeah, we know that every blender have a message to transmit to cigar smokers. What was the one cigar that you blended and are very proud of doing so?
Blanco 9.
Blanco 9. Huh?
Yeah. This is the one that, very interestingly enough, was not my first blend. It was the blend. Discussing what I was just mentioning about people start off at milder and get heavier. The same thing happened with me as a blender. I started off milder and then developed into a medium body cigar and then a little bit fuller body cigar. And then I decided to blend the Blanco 9 because I wanted to have a niche for every type of cigar smoker. You have to have a cigar for everyone's palate. And you can't do it with one cigar. It's impossible. People like different things. So that being said, I came out with a Connecticut, a Sumatra, and a Habano Maduro, and then I came out with the Oscuro Corojo. This one I felt was a little bit meatier, a little bit more full flavor, had a little more depth, had a little more tooth. And so this is the one where I really worked and I utilized a lot of the things that I had learned from my mentor. And at the time, he was still alive. This was the last cigar that I worked on with his tutelage. And I had another friend also come down and he was interested in making a cigar for his shop, or he worked for a shop that wanted their own cigar. And so even he lent his palate to what we were trying to accomplish, since we were going to release it in that shop as a beta test first. And so this cigar was the one that really put Blanco cigars on the map way back in 2006, I think 6 or 7, when we came out with this cigar, and it was a home run for us. This cigar actually, in Lancero, in Cigar Aficionado, tied the Cuban Cohiba Lancero in the rating. They were right next to each other with the same number. And when people saw, because people are very Cuban-centric, right, when it comes to cigars, they saw Cuban Cohiba, and they rated the number. And then right next to it, with the same rating number, they saw Blanco 9 Lancero. And they were like, what is this Blanco 9? What? I got to find this. I have to try this. And this really put us on the map. And I have to say that in that regard, the ratings mattered. And sometimes it's about what we're doing right now, getting information out, word of mouth, building a brand. And that's why I tell people I'm a 23-year overnight success.
Thank you. Then you want to go ahead?
You know, talking about the brand, people talking about, you know, like cigars, people always look after like us, Cigar Obsession, all these guys that, you know, they make reviews on cigars. And that's how I think the best way to spread the cigar is good or not.
I agree. No, I agree for sure. The social media world has now made the actual planet a much smaller place.
True.
As you guys are well aware, and you're doing it right now, people in the Middle East are probably seeing and hearing me for the first time. And I've only been in this business 23 years, a long time. But today, they are seeing and hearing about Blanco cigars for the first time. So this medium has made the world a much closer knit place, especially for an industry like ours, because it's a very niche industry. Cigar smoking industry and consumers, very small percentage of smokers in general, very small. Right. So the fact that we're able to now network with each other through social media has brought this planet much closer to each other. And I've done events all over the world as a result of it.
So I want to follow up with a question about Blanco 9 line. And you see this in Cuban sometimes. Let's say they have the Cohiba siglo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So, but you got the Blanco 9 line. So when we talk about blend, is it the same blend, just, you know, distributed? How does it?
So
that's what he's asking.
So the number 9 that we came up with is a very simple story, and I'm a very uncomplicated person. So when you first blend a cigar, you come up with a cigar blend, you make one, you roll it, and you taste it, and you go, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, and you tweak it. But you have a scribe there, and he writes down the blend. Then as we adjust it, he writes it down again with the changes. And then if you have to change it again, he writes it down. He writes it down as many times as we change it. So when I finally got to the point where I picked up the cigar and went, this is it. I looked at the scribe and I said, what number blend is this? And he said, this is the 9th blend. I said, we're going to call it the Blanco 9. That's it. That's it. So the 9 simply has to do with the original creation of the blends, and the final blend that we settled on, it was the 9th blend, and we called it the Blanco 9. So, which is different than the Cubans, where they number their sizes.
Right.
The Monte Cristo number 2, the Monte Cristo number 4. This is just a size name that they designated. And there's also a traditional name with it, like the Monte Cristo number 2 is also a torpedo, right? So it's just a size. This is not a size. This is the 9 blend, or the 9 line, as you called it. The one variation blend that I've made in this entire thing is the JT Limitado. That I took the original 9 blend and made it into a bigger cigar. And when I did that, I had to adapt to the size. And this is a 58 ring gauge. So I had to adapt, and I had to add things to the core 3 ligeros that I started with. That's how that occurred.
Oh,
Usually, David, we hear that in a Lancero, the double Lancero, you use 2 or 2.5 leaves.
In the filler?
Yeah.
Complete. Yes, that's complete. That is to say, if I have 3 different tobaccos, I'm going to use a half a leaf, a half a leaf, a leaf. Yeah, it's 2 to 2.5 in the filler. Absolutely. Which is much less in a Toro, which leads me to my next question. I see right here, when starting a new blend, which vitola do you use as a starting point and why? I start generally with a Toro size, a 52 ring gauge. The reason that is because that is a middle ring gauge for the gamut of most cigars that you make nowadays. You go from up to a 60 and down to a 38. That's the gauge, that's the range. So if you start in the middle, you can then adjust the ratios in either direction while still keeping the core elements to maintain the blend throughout the sizes that you make. That's why you do that.
Yes.
Now, if you're specifically making a cigar for a specific size, then you just make it for that.
Are you a fan of the large gauges, 60, 62, 70?
I make cigars up to 70 ring gauge now. My newest blend with the Prince Hall. This comes in a 6x60, 7x70, 6x52, and 5x50. I'm holding the 5x50. So I make cigars for the market. That is to say, what people want to buy. This is what my job is. Personally, I prefer ring gauges 52 and below. From my personal perspective. Why? You have more wrapper dominance in a cigar in a smaller ring gauge. So you guys are smoking this Lancero right now, but if you smoked it in a Toro, it wouldn't be as concentrated a flavor profile. But the Lancero is, and this is why I like it, because I like concentrated flavor.
yes. Which is hard to make.
What, the concentrated flavor or the size?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it has to do with, you guys have Kool-Aid? You know what Kool-Aid is. You put powder in a container. The more water you add, the more diluted the flavor. So the same thing is, the larger it gets, the more diluted the flavor profiles. The harder it is to maintain strength and body and dynamic tobacco flavor. It's just putting too much filler, which is the same as water. So,
Okay.
does the Connecticut always come in? No, it's not. I have a medium body Connecticut shade that I make, and I also have one that's 3/4 body for somebody else. And that has to do with the fillers and binder, right? We also are growing a new Connecticut shade in an area that is typically known to create a more spicy result because of the elements in the soil. And that is in Esteli. The Connecticut shade that I use right now for my own Connecticut shade, which is the Liga Exclusiva Connecticut shade. This is a Connecticut shade from the Talunga Valley in Honduras, where my family grows tobacco there. However, there is U.S. Connecticut shade, which I feel is a little more bitter in taste and acrid. Some people like that. There's also Ecuador. Ecuador makes some great Connecticut shade. It's a little sweeter. The Connecticut shade that I use from the Talunga Valley in Honduras is more neutral and cleaner of a finish. It has a little more wood note to it. The new area that we're growing is in Esteli. Esteli has a little more spiciness. It's noted for its slightly pepperier and stronger notes in the soil with the tobacco. So now that we tried growing Connecticut there, sure enough, the Connecticut shade has a little bit more of a spice to it. It's slight, but it's a little more spice. So if I combine it with binders and fillers that are stronger, you can come out with a very strong Connecticut shade.
Oh, okay.
Good.
So the wrapper, just so you guys are aware, this is pretty well known in the industry. It's not an exact percentage, but people say 50% of the flavor from the cigar comes from the wrapper. Okay, 50%. So if I took this wrapper off and put on another one, I would change the complexity and the tones of this cigar by 50%. But the joke in the industry is that 90% of the flavor is in the band.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
The
by
eyes. The eyes, what they see.
Yeah.
That's
Whoa,
what it is. True.
Cohiba. You know, Davidoff. Whoa. What
I
was
know.
that?
That's true.
You know,
It's a big difference.
Marketing.
truly, when you take the band off a cigar and hand it to somebody, you get a better result with regard to an honest
Yeah.
opinion.
That's true.
Yes.
Because then it doesn't
Psychologically.
matter where it came from or who made it. Or it's just tell me if you like the cigar or not and why, right? The other issue is value. How much does the cigar cost? If I just gave you a cigar with no band, I said, tell me what you think of the cigar. It would be strictly on taste and aroma and the character of the product. If I put a band on it and I told you a price tag, suddenly everything changes, right? Because you would say, oh, I wouldn't pay $50 for that, or I wouldn't pay $20 for that. So the value automatically adds an element to that product, as well as the name on the band.
Yes, the name.
I'm a purist. I smoke a cigar for the cigar. I don't care whose name is on it, and I don't care what it costs, because that's not why I'm smoking it. I'm smoking it because either I enjoy it or I don't.
It's like the Gurkha.
To follow on this.
Oh, you went there. You went there. Oh my God.
Man, I'm telling you, people sometimes, they comment like, because me, I tried three brand of Gurkha,
Mhm.
and honestly, I didn't like it. And when I say I didn't like it, there's people they get offended.
Yeah, of course. Because listen, I'll tell you why. If the cigar didn't sell, it wouldn't be on the market. So the fact that you bought it means that somebody buys it because they like it.
It's selling.
It's true.
It's
The only cigars that are bad cigars are the ones you never see on the shelf because nobody's buying them.
That's true.
It's true.
They may not be for you, but that doesn't make them bad. It just makes
What
them
do you think about that brand?
I out of professional courtesy and everything else that goes along with being a gentleman and a man of honor in this industry, we do not talk badly about each other's brands.
No.
If anything, we say something positive because we are a small community. So I am aware of the brand. I know people that work at that company. They are friends of mine in some cases. And I have smoked a lot of their cigars. And like any other brand, there are cigars that I like and cigars that I don't.
No, that's true.
But it's not for me to decide. They look at their numbers and see what sells and make what the customers want. Just like I told you, I make a 7x70. I don't smoke 7x70. But I know people who do, and they like me to make them. So I do. I will say that if you are going to consider Gurkha like any company, as on its own merits as a company, period, you just look at their statistics.
Yeah.
They sell a lot of cigars.
They do.
Somebody likes them, and somebody's smoking them. So that being said, they're a successful company.
They are. I'm not saying
So-
the opposite, but
If personally they're just not your taste, I get it. I get it.
But in your opinion, David, what makes a great cigar?
Okay, you said personally, so I'm going to give you my take, not what a lot of. See, you ask 10 people that question in this business, they may
10
give you
different
10 different answers.
Right.
So the answer for me to that question is part of my company's motto. My company's motto and building blocks of how we do business are quality, tradition, and value. Those are the things that make a good cigar. The quality of the tobacco that is used, the tradition of the Cuban hand roll system or the Cuban hand roll tradition of how we make cigars, not cutting corners, making them correctly, and the value to the consumer. Those three things. If I can give you a quality product with the first two, the last one is, am I giving you a quality product at a good value? That is to say, an affordable price or a price that isn't out of reach. I hear all the time, and this is not a knock on them, this is just an example, right? Another very successful company, Padron or Fuente with Opus X. I have heard people say, I love the Aniversario, I love the Opus X, but I only get it on occasion for special occasions because I can't afford to buy it on a regular basis. So my model is I want you to be able to smoke my cigars as often as you like, because not only are they good cigars for you, but you can also afford them all the time. So that's my model. So this is why I say quality, tradition, and value. Value being of the utmost importance. I can make a great cigar, guys, and if I charge $100 for it, I'm going to sell a lot less than if I did $12. Right?
For me, a good cigar, it's a cigar that you can smoke every day and you enjoy it.
And that means you can afford it.
Yes, you could afford it for sure.
So
You know,
this
I'm
is
not gonna go smoke a $100 cigar every day, which is I don't think a lot of people does.
They do.
Some people they do, I understand, but
Some
it's the
people.
number, the statistic. It's very like
Very
little.
It's all relative. You know, if you have that money and $100 is nothing, you do it. But I bet you I find a lot more. I bet you I find 11 people with $10 to spend on a cigar a lot more often than one guy with $100.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, that's $110 versus 100. So
Absolutely.
this is I'm getting into a little bit of the business aspect of this because it's something I love and it's my passion. But at the end of the day, if I can't make a living at it, I'm doing it as a hobby, and it's too expensive for me to do as a hobby. I have to make a living at it. So value is important. If you ask me, those are the three things: quality, tradition, and value. If you use good material, good construction, which obviously has to do with blending, also involved there, then you give it to the customers at good quality pricing, then they will buy your product for a long time and continue to buy it as long as you maintain the standard of the cigar.
You brought up a very important point, is the second point, which is the Cuban handcrafted expertise and the way to do things. How important it is to have a great torcedor rolling your cigars the way you want to emit this or transfer this information or whatever it is in the cigar.
It's essential. It's absolutely essential.
And how hard it is to replace that torcedor in case he decided to retire or pass away or
Well, we have a training course for rollers as they get hired. I mean, you hire new rollers, they have no experience. They have to learn their craft, and it takes at least 6 months of rolling every day just to be off the training level. So the stuff that those guys are rolling are usually mixed filler and in very easy sizes to roll.
Right.
And those cigars are sold at peanuts for different brands that our factory, the family, rolls for down there, that are low-end cigars, budget cigars, because they're not expected to have the high level of quality because the rollers are less experienced. But as they continue to grow, 1 year, 2 years, you're still a new roller. When you start getting 5, 6, 7 years, yay! Now you're seasoned, right? And so now you can start doing different things. Depending on the size of the cigar that you smoke, not every roller is qualified to roll that size.
Right.
So certain rollers can do Robusto and Toro and 6x60. Other rollers specialize in shapes. Other rollers specialize in Lanceros. This is a very difficult size to roll. It's easy to roll too tight, and then suddenly you have a bad draw. So it takes a certain nimbleness and tactile experience of doing it so many times to understand pressure and things of that nature. So it takes a long time to train a very good roller, but we have a pipeline for training people.
Is it online or is it something that you do on?
Well, no, you're hired at the factory, and you go to the factory. You're working. Yes, yeah.
Do you pay good salaries?
This is not a dull, long distance education.
Remote work.
Yeah, this is not Phoenix or what is it? Phoenix University online. No.
Yeah.
They're asking you, can Blanco cigar be found outside the US and Canada? Any online shop that ship them internationally?
Okay, so I'm going.
Now we're gonna get a lot of that questions. Even after the live, people they're gonna contact us to see how to get that cigar.
So it depends on, and because I don't know the laws in every country, I do have some international people who ship, but even every country can be restricted, which depending on the country they can send to. So internationally, I believe to tobacco.nl, which is in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. They distribute my product in the Netherlands, and well, they are a shop, but they also have a distribution company where they distribute within the Netherlands. But the shop side, they have an online store that they ship throughout the European Union. However, I do know that some countries restrict that, even within the EU. So which countries can they ship to within the EU? I don't know. But I know it's not all of them. There's another company called Privada Cigar Club, based in the United States.
In the States. That's what
they ship internationally, but again, I don't know what their restrictions are with every country. Because some countries, they don't care if they don't allow any tobacco in, unless it's through an importer. Other than that, I think cigarbiz.net is another online store that carries our product, but I don't know what their inventory is right now. I do know they sell internationally. They also ship internationally.
I can add another one. Cigarplace.biz.
I'm sorry. What did I say? Did I just say
okay, whatever?
Yeah, say whatever, but is that what you meant? Okay,
yes, that's what I meant. Maybe I said .net.
Right.
Maybe it's cigarplace. What is it?
Biz.
Cigarplace.biz. Excuse me.
Right.
I got it backwards. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's them.
We're talking about what you're selling online and what you can sell online, but you have also blends that already exist in the Middle East that maybe the viewers don't know about, that you're blending those cigars.
Correct. So I manufacture for other brands, as I mentioned earlier, and there's a brand out there that has certain distribution in some Middle Eastern countries right now. I don't own that company. I don't own the brand, but I am the blender. It is manufactured at my family's factory because I am the blender. So I'm responsible for all of its manufacturing.
Can you mention the name?
Sure. I'm responsible for its importing into the United States and its export around the world. I do all of the logistical back end for it. So I am integrally around that brand, and that brand is called Hiram & Solomon.
Wow.
Oh, Fuad and Rami.
That is correct.
Oh, so
I don't know how often they mention my name, or not.
We made sure that we do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you do the blending for them.
I do their blending, import, export. I do everything but sell the cigar for them.
Wow.
Okay.
That's not my job. They have their own sales force.
They are expanding in the Middle East very fast.
They are, and one reason is also, as you guys know, Fuad is Lebanese.
Yeah.
So he has relationships with people there that I don't necessarily have, but he's doing well, and I'm happy that he's doing well, because with his success is our success. Sometimes owners don't mention necessarily the people that are behind the curtain for them, because they like to be the face of the brand. And understandably, he should be the face of the brand because he is the owner of the brand. Absolutely. But likewise, it takes a lot of people behind that one person. Similarly with me, you're speaking with me, but I have many people behind me that make this happen, and therefore I try not to take credit for a bunch of things that I might. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me, but it takes a lot of people. And so the same thing with Eddie, I handle a lot of that back end stuff. So.
Nice, cool. And David, to go on into something more fun, I would say, you know that there's, the Habano Festival, the Puro Sabor, the Sabor de Nicaragua. Can you talk a little bit more about, you're more in Nicaragua, and how does I have the question in two volley, or in two segments. So talk us through the Sabor de Nicaragua, and at the same time, is there any tours done in Nicaragua for cigar smokers to enjoy more the experience, to know?
Sure. I'd be happy to talk about that for you. Sabor de Nicaragua is our version of the Habanos Festival or the Pro Cigar that they have in the Dominican Republic. It's an incredible festival where all the major manufacturers are involved, and these are world-renowned brands that you all know, other than Plasencia, of course. We have Padron there. We have Oliva there. We have My Father Cigars there. Drew Estate is there. I mean, these are incredible companies. Forgive me if I leave anybody out. I don't want anybody to be offended. J.C. Newman is there.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm forgetting others. NATSA is located. A.J. Fernandez, for crying out loud, is located there. So, I mean, all of these companies are integrally involved in the festival, and you have an opportunity to visit their locations, their factories. And you have big festivals where everybody gets together for dinners, and you get to meet the brand owners and to mingle, and sometimes get pre-releases they'll do, or a special release just for the festival. And it gets you in tune with a lot, hands-on, gets to see and visit and become friends to the extent that you can with the actual people involved. You get to see the cigars being made. You get to understand the quality control that's going on and the amount of work that is involved. And they give you the experience of learning about farming, fermentation, blending, and rolling.
Is it only for professionals, or is
no? It's open to the public. Open to the public. Yeah, open to the public. The problem is it's limited with the amount of people that can attend, because there's just only so much hotel space and venue space and things of that nature. It's not like the United States where everything is huge, right? So it is a fest that it continues to grow in size, but it can only grow to the extent that the logistics can handle it. Right.
Right.
That being said, if you go to blancocigars.com, we also do a tour in Nicaragua, and it's a tour. And I don't want to sound pompous or aloof when I say this, but I will flat out tell you, I think it's the best tour in the cigar industry. It just is, and I'll tell you why. Nobody else does a tour like I do a tour. I created the tour as if I was creating it for myself and what I, as a tourist and on a vacation, would want to get out of it.
Get out, yeah.
So for U.S. people or Canadian people as well, the tour is 5 days, 4 nights. For the European and Middle Eastern market, it's 8 days, 7 nights. Why? Because the amount of travel involved. I didn't want you guys to get less of an experience and have to travel all that way. So we have a longer tour for you guys. If you go to blancocigars.com and you look under factory tour, it'll give you a breakdown of the itinerary of what we do. And I can briefly describe it for you. Land in Managua. We go to Granada, which is the oldest colonial city in Central America. It was a pirate town. Captain Morgan used to hang out there. It's a beautiful place. Mombacho volcano is in the background, and a huge lake, and we take a boat ride, and we eat at Pirate Island, and I show you all of the things of the colonial city, the history you get to learn, the culture you get to learn about Nicaragua. Because for me, a cigar tour is not just cigars. It's understanding the country.
Culture and history.
And the history. And as a vacation, for me, I would want to see the country, not just a factory and a farm. So I show you one of the oldest cities, and we spend the night there. We rent a boutique hotel out, so it is only us. It has a pool. We have great food. We go to the bars. We enjoy the nightlife, whether it's dinner or dancing. And then the next day we go to Nicaragua, to Esteli. And then we show you everything that you would see on everybody's tour, which is from seed all the way to box. You see the farm, the fermentation. I give you a 100% opportunity to learn everything. We do a blending session. I teach you how to become what a blender goes through. You get to then blend your own cigar. You get to try to roll your own cigar.
Oh, that's good.
So you get to do all of that. After you're done with all of that during the day, in the evenings, we go see Esteli. We eat at the restaurants. We go to the clubs. If you want to go to the casino, we can do that. If you want to just drink rum and smoke cigars on the roof, we can do that. I show you the markets there. I show you how the people live. So you see where the money that you spend on your hobby, where it ends up. You see how they live. You see their lifestyle. You eat the same food. You understand their culture. You get to learn about them. After we spend the time in Esteli, we go to León. León was the former colonial capital. It was the capital of the country when Spain owned it as a colony. That's one of the older cities as well. But it also happens to be 15 minutes from the Pacific Ocean. So we don't sleep in Leon. We rent a house or a boutique hotel on the beach in the Pacific Ocean. And we spend 2 weeks there. And we wind up
sounds amazing.
A vacation on the beach, and we enjoy the nightlife and the seafood and the sun and the ocean. And then we
please stop.
Can you
freaking stop, man?
When you're all nice and tan and fat, I put you back in the van, and we take you all back to Managua, and you get on a plane.
So because we're
I'm going.
I'm done.
But there's other things that we do. I mean, while we're there, I mean, it depends, because we only take 10 people at a time. So it's intimate. We don't want to make it too big. So what we do is we've had people come down 3-4 times. And that's because two tours are ever the same. And the reason is because we only have 10 people. We say to people, here are the options of what we can. So it's like one of those video games where you can choose your own ending. Mm-hmm. When we're in Leon, we say, would you like to go to the club, the casino, the bar, the beach, or would you like to stay here and smoke cigars? And then we vote.
So for example, open cigars?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we provide cigars as well on the tour. The tour is inclusive. By the way, there is a cost associated with the tour.
Yeah.
It's I don't make money on the tour. We're not looking to make money on the tour. What we're doing is trying to educate people, and we literally just have things paid for, which is what the cost is. But because I have regular accounts with people with regard to the people that we utilize, we have relationships. They give us discounts, and we pass them on to you. So, for example, the United States tour, which is to say U.S. and Canada, which is 5 days, is usually around $800.
Wow.
That's it. If you're from Europe or from the Middle East, it's usually $1,000 because your tour is longer. No, but you have more days, right? So we're going to have you there for more days.
But because we're Middle Easterns, we're allowed to take the longer package.
Correct. 8 days, 7 nights. Yeah. It's Sunday to Sunday. You guys can come down Sunday to Sunday. If you want to come down on the European tour, that's fine. We just do it to give more time so people, because it's an hour, it's a day traveling each way. To travel that far for 5 days, it's not worth it. It's more beneficial, and people aren't as jet lagged and everything else.
That's right.
So everything is included in the tour. You get there, this is hotel, food, transportation, cigars, alcohol within limits. If you drink, if you don't, that's fine. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Oh, so one time we went volcano surfing.
Oh, volcano surfing.
Another time we went horseback riding. Another time we went to the Flor de Caña rum factory and did the rum tour. And there's always one mystery tour mystery cigar tour factory involved in my tour, because I not only take you to the Plasencia factory where our cigars are made, because this is our family and our Plasencia farms, but I take you to somebody else's factory, and I never tell you who's going to be until that day when you show up at their door. One time we went to AJ Fernandez's factory. One time we went to the Oliva factory. One time we went to the Padron factory years ago. I mean, we all know each other. Oh, Perdomo. I forgot to mention when I was mentioning brands down there, Perdomo is also located not too far from us. So, I mean, I call up one of these other factories that are friends with us, and I say, hey, we'd like to come in and do a tour. It's a surprise. So what you do is you get to see how things are in different factories relative to the factory you already saw. You'll see a lot of similarities. You may see some differences. But then you're understanding what you're seeing because we've already educated you on that. This is about education. But at the end of the day, it's also a vacation. So that's why we like to end it at the beach. So you guys get to enjoy yourself.
There's something that you went through. Sorry, then.
Nobody. This is why I say.
Can the Americans stay longer?
They can. They want. But the tour concludes, and then you can stay longer. Now, if we have enough Americans that say we want to do the extended 8-day tour, then we'll just make it an 8-day tour.
Okay.
Understanding that it was designed for European, but we can do it. We can do that as well.
David, I have a question for right now. We know that the Habanos Festival is still going on, and the Puro Sabor. Do you guys also announce new releases? Because on the Habano side, they announce, and us as consumer, we definitely just see pictures. We never see the cigar for a while. Right. Is it the same thing on the other side? When
No.
you guys say, "Oh, we have a new cigar,"
Nope. If they do a release, and it depends on the manufacturer, because they can choose to do a release at that festival or sometime other than that. But if they choose to do it at that festival, most likely it'll be ready then or within the next couple months to be released. In general, it's the difference between Cuba and the United States, and our companies in Nicaragua, which are based most of them in the United States, is that we actually like to sell cigars, and we don't sell something we don't have.
well, yeah,
It's a bad business model to try to sell something you never had. So,
Well, it's always like that with the Cuban thing.
I'm not
It's
saying that
always
either.
hard to get the cigars that they release.
we get hyped, and then we're like, "Okay, so when can we get it?" Oh well,
Yeah.
it's going to China first.
the masters of marketing, right? That's how that
Oh
works.
yeah,
We definitely release the cigars. The difficulty we have outside the United States is sometimes that distributors are restricted with what they can bring in because of taxation issues. A distributor, say, for example, you guys are in Canada. The reason we don't have as many cigars in Canada as we would like is because the size of our distributor is prohibited based on the amount of taxes that they can pay and how fast they can sell the cigars. So, like anything else, at the end of the day, it's a business. He can only absorb so much cost. He might be able to pay for twice as many cigars for me. But if he can't pay all the taxes that go with it, then he has to lessen the amount of cigars. And this is the issue. And in your country, you also, and when I say your country, Canada, you also have to have a distributor in each one of the provinces. It's not a national guy. They have to be licensed in each, and some guys are. They are licensed in each province, but those guys are usually the bigger guys, and they have big brands, and then the smaller guys are only regional, like Ontario or Montreal.
Quebec.
You know, it's very hard for us to get cigars. Always we try to get them from the States. Here they make it so difficult to, like, to get a cigar that you want.
It's not only Canada, my friend. It's becoming that way in a lot of parts of the world, unfortunately.
The white label.
That's the problem. The white label that they put on the cigar here, it's they're killing it.
Well, now it's what you call it a white label. It's actually green band, right? It's green.
Green band.
Yeah, it's a green. It's an olive green band with just the letters.
Yeah.
We just went through this with our Canadian distributor. We're actually putting plain packaging on that product right now for his first shipment, which should be this month.
Okay.
What is it? That's question.
Yeah, of course.
You have any questions there? Do the rolling techniques used affect the draw of the cigar? So all of the rolling techniques affect the draw of the cigar. If it's rolled too tight, which is a rolling technique, if it's rolled too tight, it'll have plugs, it will have a tight draw. And I'm not going to pick on any Cubans, but what can I say?
It's very rare that you find a plug cigar from the New World cigar, like other than Cuban.
There's a reason for that.
You use your flow test, right?
Well, it's not just that. It's not just that. The reason is we use a different technique than the Cubans traditionally used. And we did that because we found it was more efficient and we came out with better quality cigars. And here's the technique. The technique is we use two people. We use a team. One person does only bunching, and puts it in the mold, and then it goes to the press, and they stick it in the cigar press for 15, 20 minutes, open it, rotate a quarter turn, press it again. Then it goes to the draw testing machine, where we push air through it. It goes in a cylinder that has a bladder. The bladder collapses around it to act like a wrapper, and then it pushes air through the cigar. If the cigar has been bunched too tight by hand or pressed for too long, the pressure to push the air through will register on a needle as too high, and it gets rejected.
What's the maximum on the needle? Is it 9 or 10?
No, it's a millimeters of mercury, 20 to 30,
Mercury,
35, and it depends on the ring gauge, right? Smaller ring gauges, automatically going to be higher pressure because it's a smaller lumen. A normal 50 ring gauge is going to be a little bit less pressure. The bigger ring gauge is even lesser pressure. However, at that point we identify it, we can take the cigar apart and make the guy re-roll it. But if it passes, it goes back in the mold to the second person in the team. The torcedor only does the wrapper. Only does the wrapper. We already know the cigar draws well and it's constructed well. So now they finish the wrapper and the cigar is then done. So it's been draw tested in between to ensure that the bunching knocks out the issue of the plugs. Now,
Basically, is the control quality.
absolutely. Now, we also have supervisors on every 2 rows or every 3 rows of rollers that go by and are spot checking the cigars before they get there. After they're done, another lady then weighs them in a wheel of 50 because we know exactly how much tobacco should be in each cigar in grams. And as they finish a bundle of 50, we stick them on there and weigh them. And we know how many grams that should be. Then it goes to the quality control room in the back for the daily production, where they again get spot checked, all of them, by 3 people who handle, they're the top quality control in the factory. They look at every cigar for any wrapper imperfections, any holes or loose spots, an uneven cap, the bunching in the filler is uneven, the way it's placed, and if it gets by them, then it goes to the agent to sit for a minimum of 35 days. Minimum. So we have many quality control steps.
Those
the
cigars
Cubans don't
that are
have.
imperfect, I would say.
What's that? I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you.
Tori said which Cubans don't have as a quality control process.
Well, listen.
maybe
again,
they do, but in a different.
I'm not going to, I could speak generally about the Cuban system. I'm not going to talk about particulars. What I can tell you about the Cuban system is this. One person does everything with regard to the production of the cigar, but that person is required to make a certain amount of cigars. And it's a human-made product. With the more tired you become, the quality drops. So when you're asking somebody to make more cigars than possible at a high level,
Then they could.
start to drop the quality. When you're asking people to ferment tobacco, and I already mentioned to you guys at length how much time it takes to ferment tobacco, when you start cutting the time, that means the quality of the tobacco that is being used for fermented tobacco is not as good.
It's under fermented.
These are all things where people start cutting corners to save time. Time is money. And they need to make a certain amount of product for revenue. So if we can somehow shorten the amount of time to produce more, this is what seems to be happening. So it's not that they don't have the control. It's just that they choose, it appears sometimes, to shave off the corners to make some more money off the product that they can make extra. Right? Can't rush it, guys.
Do you integrate machinery in your process?
We do not. The closest thing we have is called a Lieberman. And a Lieberman helps the buncher.
Okay, the Lieberman machine.
You guys familiar with the Lieberman machine? It's a cloth roller and you push it. Why do we use that? It's still considered done by hand because you have to place the tobacco in there and you have to roll it by hand and everything else. But the reason is the old school way is to do it bunching 2 hands. Well, generally one person is either right-handed or left-handed. Guess what happens when you do this with both hands? One hand, the dominant hand, tends to be stronger than the other. So you get an uneven bunch roll and you have more pressure on one side than the other. The Lieberman distributes the roll evenly. So it minimizes the issues when you get to the drum machine that the tobacco is pressed identically throughout the entire length of the cigar with the even pressure. This is why we use it. But this is still considered hand roll. It's not a mechanism. It's not automatic. It's manual. You have to manually put the tobacco in, you manually roll it, and then it comes out evenly, more evenly than not. I see somebody asking.
Then I'll let you ask.
I see a question. Does David smoke any Cuban cigars?
Any
the answer
Cuban
is
cigar.
yes. I smoke all cigars. I smoke cigars I like. I smoke cigars I don't like. And the reason I smoke them is because I also have to do research in the market, right? So if somebody is selling a lot of cigars
What's
and
your
raving about it, I have to figure out why and understand why, and so I smoke it to see what the deal is. If somebody tells me likewise, this cigar is no good, I do.
Do you relate to any Cuban cigars in terms of flavors and try to maybe not imitate, but I would say something, do something similar, something that you like? That's what I mean, like something that's, you know.
There's nothing for me. There is a unique flavor profile that you get out of Cuban cigars, no matter what it is, because it's about what's in the soil that is imparted.
Terroir. The terroir is the essential.
Yeah, that's it. So that one thing that you can tell a Cuban taste or aroma, you can't mimic. Just as they can't mimic Nicaraguan or Honduran or Dominican. They can't. It's specific to that area. It's like wine, right? We talked about
different
that
cuisine.
That's right. You can't
cuisine.
mimic. You cannot mimic a Bordeaux. It's from Bordeaux.
Right.
Napa is Napa. You know, wherever you're at, so there's something always unique from the location. But would I want to mimic something from them? The answer is no. There's nothing in a Cuban cigar that I say to myself, I wish I could impart this into my cigars, and I only get that in Cuban cigars. And the reality is, I have more capability to blend cigars than they do. As I mentioned earlier, we buy tobacco from 15, 16 different countries. I can create things that Cuban cigars can never even imagine because they only use Cuban.
Right.
Or so it's said.
Well,
that being said, Cuba only has certain regions and certain tobaccos. That's it. I mean, how long did it take them to come out with a Maduro finally?
oh my God.
Been making Maduros for years. Maduros from Nicaragua, Maduros from the Dominican Republic, Maduros from Mexico, Maduros.
Cameroon.
So I can make things that you'll never be able to find into a Cuban cigar. But the one thing that we can't get from Cuban cigars is that soil taste that is imparted into the leaf. And to me, that's not like the end all be all. You know, do they make some good cigars? Absolutely. I'm not saying Cuban cigars are bad, but for what they charge, remember the value aspect, they should be excellent.
And the prices are steep.
You guys be the judges. The viewers can be the judges. The amount of money you pay for cigars, from them, you should get quality.
Excellent.
Always.
Let me ask you
Fine
something
quality.
that a lot of people ask us that questions about barrel aging.
Oh.
Do you do that? Like, and how is the process? Because they said this barrel used to be for alcohol, scotch or whiskey or whatever.
Wine or rum.
Yes, you know, like, how do you use that? I don't know if you use that technique or anything. So
I've experimented with that technique, and I continue to experiment it because I haven't gotten the result that I'm looking for. I am not going to put out a cigar that I don't think is exactly the way we want it to come out. So we have worked with barrels, whiskey barrels, rum barrels, even port barrels, right? And so there are techniques where you seal the barrels. Some people pressurize it, other people don't, and you put tobacco in there because at the end of the day, the tobacco leaf is a sponge. It will absorb the aroma and whatever evaporates, and alcohol evaporates, imparts into the leaf, and it'll take on a characteristic of the alcohol for a subtle taste and flavor. The trick is the amount of time and for lack of a word, how strong it is. It's not the lack of time, it's concentration of flavor, right? So I have to figure out the amount of time and how strong that concentration is imparted. So it's a learning process. I've smoked some barrel-aged cigars that have various different barrels that they say they use. I don't get much. I've smoked others that I get more. So the trick is finding that proprietary system and process of your own to get out of that process of barrel aging what you want to get into the cigar. The next problem with that is that, as I told you, leaves are sponges. They also emanate things. So the longer I leave that cigar outside the barrel, if it's done, it's going to lose that flavor. It's going to escape. So the best way to do something, and that's what we're looking at, is hermetically seal the cigar, whether that's a tube, foil, or plastic tube, glass or plastic, depending, or a aluminum tube. That is something else that we're looking at. And how do we prolong the shelf life of something that has technically a flavoring to it through the barrel process? So I'm working on it. I don't talk about it because the reality is, until it's ready, it doesn't matter. But we are working on that. I have family that are also working on that in Nicaragua. They're experimenting with stuff. And trust me, we talk to each other. How is that working? How does that work? Is that in process? We noticed this process. Temperature is also another issue. Humidity is also another issue. So we're working on perfecting it. It's done right now for other people, but I'm not over enthusiastic about that.
You need the perfect thing. Okay.
Well, it's got to be right for me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it's got to be something special for me.
Satisfy you.
If it's special for me, then I know it'll satisfy others. So
Najee has a nice question. What is your best cigar size for you?
I do like a Lancero. I like a Lonsdale Corona. That's a 46, a 42, a 38. But I'll go up to a 52 Toro size.
Lancero, that's where you get the much flavor and
look at that. See, now after you guys smoke this Lancero, it's hard to say I don't like Lanceros, right? You guys
no. Seriously, it was a good cigar with three Ligero leaves. Oh my god,
you gotta smoke the next one. You guys can smoke the next one. Completely different.
Will. I am.
So the issue with the Lanceros, I like Lanceros, so I make three. I make the Blanco 9. I make the Cigar Obsession first third in a Lancero, but that's box pressed. And I also make the final third in Cigar Obsession box pressed. So I have two box pressed Lanceros, which is even more rare. They're out there, but not as many people make them. So.
Nice. I have a question for you. We know that pairing is subjective, taste is subjective, depending on every culture and every cuisine that everybody eats and used to eat in. Personally, I love to pair my cigars with rum, coffee. This is the most, I have a lot of scotch, but those are the best things for me to enjoy my cigar. Mm-hmm. What does David pair his cigars with?
Mm. Well, that's an interesting question. Depends on what I feel like having to drink. I will tell you the most popular beverage in the world to pair with a cigar is coffee, because not everybody drinks alcohol. 70% of the U.S. market of all the population of the United States, 70% of the United States, for example, smokes or drinks coffee. So it's just a more commonly paired beverage with everything. So coffee is number one, and the first cigar I ever blended, I blended to pair with coffee, because I said to myself, when my master, my mentor, asked me, he goes, well, how do you want to start? I said, well, the first thing I do is I get up and have a cup of coffee in the morning. I need to blend a cigar for that cup of coffee. So that's when I blended a Sumatran blend using an Indonesian Sumatran wrapper. So coffee is definitely essential for me.
Which cigar was that?
It's a cigar that is being repackaged right now. It's called the Premier Selection Sumatran. And it came in a red band, colored box, beautiful packaging. I'm redoing them right now, so I can't show you one, but that was it. And then I love rum. I'm a rum fanatic when it comes to rum from all over the world. So I had to blend a cigar for rum, but I also like scotch and bourbon. So when I blend cigars, I blend for all of those palates. So generally when I'm blending at the factory, I will have rum with me, and I will have coffee with me, and I will have water to cleanse my palate.
Yes.
But I will also, after I blend the cigars that I'm satisfied with them, after I age them, I will then take them and smoke them with different bourbons and different scotches, just to see how they pair with them. And then I can recommend or not recommend that you use those type of beverages with these cigars. So I definitely blend, understanding that people drink everything. And so I try to experience what people will arrive at, even though it's subjective. I try to pull things out of, even if you don't like something, you can appreciate what somebody gets out of it. So even though I might not like some peaty scotch, I will Lafroig, for example. I just picked that one out of the sky. Lafroig is very, very peaty. I will have Lafroig and I will smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like Lafroig and even though I don't like the peat, I want to see what it does to the cigar and how it'll affect the product that I'm presenting. So it does matter. It does matter. Chocolate. If you eat chocolate with a cigar, that matters. You know, if you have nuts like an almond or a fig. If you guys have never tried figs with your cigar, try one. All my Middle Eastern friends out there, if you're in the Middle East watching this, if you have not had a fig while you're smoking a cigar, try it.
I did. The dried figs, right?
Yeah, dried figs. Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to necessarily go dry figs, though. You can go the moist ones, the juicy ones, because they also can be sweet. So you could try it and see how it changes your palate with the sweetness. So,
why do you think cigar smells the way they do? I notice Cuban cigar smells so sweet, but other countries smells much stronger, sometimes unappetizing.
It's all about the tobacco. Every tobacco has its own scent, its own aroma. I will tell you that there's a lot of cedar issues that you can involve. Like I said, it's a sponge. So if you age things in aromatic cedar, it's going to infuse an aromatic cedar type of aroma to it when you smell it. When you burn it, it might change. However, the burning smell is the smell of that particular varietal of tobacco. It's like a bouquet on a glass of wine. Why do you get different bouquets from different wines? Because those grapes impart a different aroma based on the soil and where it's grown and the type. Now, what do you guys think of that cigar?
Dave, what's the wrapper on this, man? It has a taste that I'm trying right now to depict.
Yeah,
but
we're
I'm
trying
not
to
able
pick that.
What is it?
That is a Pennsylvania broadleaf Maduro that's grown by the Amish in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Very old school. They don't use a lot of chemical fertilizers at all. They don't use a lot of chemical pesticides like the rest of the world uses because the Amish do things very old school, very traditionally.
Mm-hmm.
I blended this cigar with the Connecticut broadleaf as well, and I just did not like it. It imparted a different flavor profile, different aroma. But when I went to the Pennsylvania Amish Dutch grown, it was phenomenal. Look at that Lancero. He's down to the nub. But that Pennsylvania
trying
broadleaf,
not to get rid of it.
It's just beautiful.
It has a unique flavor that I haven't had in any cigar. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but it's really
tasty.
Good.
It's the Amish. The Amish.
You're gonna have to.
It's the Amish recipe.
You're gonna. The Amish. The Amish were Dutch more than German or German.
Dutch. No, they're Dutch. Dutch Amish. We call them Pennsylvania Dutch here.
Now,
but they also have them in Ohio. You can find.
We're in the 2 hour 10 minutes almost.
Why are there no tall cigar like Corona or double non-Cuban cigar?
Or double
Corona.
Why are there no? Because you understand that the largest market in the world for consumption of cigars is the United States. And since the New World cigars are predominantly consumed in the United States market, although that's changing, it's starting to grow into Europe and a little bit in the Middle East, the largest market in the United States prefers larger ring gauges. 52, 54, 56.
60s.
It's only the I hate to use the word aficionado because it gets overused, but it's only for the avid cigar smokers who really are serious about this as a hobby and their pastime. They tend to gravitate towards the smaller ring gauges. And unfortunately, there are less of them than the occasional smokers, right? So guys like me and other blenders, you'll find most of us will tell you smaller ring gauges are where it's at because of the concentrated flavor.
Sorry about the noise.
Well, most of us do. Most of us prefer. The more you smoke, you find that you get better flavor profiles in smaller ring gauges because the wrapper has a bigger influence.
Maybe before we get to the questions, I have 10 questions that I would like to, maybe Danny ask you those questions. It's
Sure.
going to be a Q&A.
Rapid fire.
One word, one question, one word. Not
Okay.
more. No elaboration.
All right, I'll
Danny,
do my
go
best.
ahead.
I'll do my best.
All right. So, what is your favorite smoking place?
The beach.
Cigar.
The Blanco 9 Lancero.
Tobacco destination.
The factory.
Cigar shop.
This is gonna put people.
Do you have any idea how many cigar shops that I've gone to in my life?
All right, skip. All right, skip. Drink.
Skip.
Next one. I can't answer that one. There's too many.
Drink.
Oh, drink. It's Cuba Libre. Rum and Coke with a lime.
Cigar yeah, I guess the pairing with a cigar
Yeah, but
as a drink.
As a drink, Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
Cuba Libre.
Gourmet pairing.
I definitely like a bloody rare steak, a nice glass of dry red wine, and some grilled asparagus. And
A
then
nice tomahawk steak.
Yeah, that's good. Asparagus grilled with a little bit of cheese and garlic, and then a beautiful Blanco 9 Lancero after that would be great.
A typical American.
Cigar buddy.
Cigar buddy. Wow. That's a tough one.
All right. Cigar cutter.
I hesitate on that one because depending on the cigar ring gauge, I don't mind a V cut. I don't mind it. I'll even do a V cut on my Lancero, but it's got to be a very deep V cut. So I think who makes that deep V cut? Is it
Colibri?
Yeah, I think it's Colibri that does the deep one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Colibri, yeah.
So I either do. I'm definitely not a bullet guy. I don't like a punch.
Not us.
I like either a flat cut, which is generally what I use. But if it's a smaller ring gauge and I have the Colibri V cut, I can do that.
You do that? Okay. And a Vitola? I guess Lancero?
Lancero, Corona, Lonsdale.
Great. Awesome. That was it.
That wasn't
One
word,
more
but it was
question.
Go ahead.
One more question. If David is about to smoke a cigar with a public figure or somebody that we all, known through history, dead or alive, doesn't matter, who would it be? And which cigar would you pick?
Well, this is going to be an interesting answer since there's a lot of Middle Eastern crowd here. But I am a Christian. So that being said, it would be Jesus Christ.
Which cigar would you smoke with him?
That's a good one, David. That's a good one.
I mean, listen, if you had an opportunity to sit down, if you're a Muslim faith, and you had an opportunity to sit down with Muhammad, would you take it?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody. That's a good thinking.
So for me, it would be Jesus Christ.
That's an interesting. And
Because many questions in life could be answered.
that's true.
Yeah.
I would be a new man after that conversation.
You were getting good answers.
I have to let this go, man, because it's burning my lips. I don't know how far can I go.
And let me guess. These guys didn't give you one of the ligas that they're smoking, right? They're already smoking.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoy this. I'm really enjoying this, man. It's the first time I'm having a Connecticut broadleaf. It's not Connecticut, sorry, a broadleaf.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
There is a good question here. What is the closest cigar to your soul?
I'd have to still go with the Blanco 9 Lancero. Yeah, I mean,
But
if
seriously,
it's my
definitely-
favorite and it's my go-to, then it's probably close to my soul. It's got to be the same.
Definitely, you guys should try that Lancero because amazing cigar, really amazing cigar.
Beautiful.
You know what? I haven't been smoking. We've been smoking a lot of Lancero,
Mhm.
but seriously, we haven't had a bad Lancero. Like you say, oh, it doesn't taste good or anything. I don't know what's what do you call it?
Secret.
The magic about these cigars, but you get all the flavors you want, and you really enjoy that type of Vitola.
So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you a question. Of all of these great Lanceros you smoked, how does that one rank?
Oh, this one I will rank it in the top 3.
Oh, so I'm not number one. Who are the other two?
You
We
know what?
won't tell you. We won't tell you which one you are. 1, 2, 3.
And I won't tell you which one the number 1, 3. Yeah, I'll put it in the top 3 that I smoke.
No
Yes.
worries. No, like I said, it's all subjective. I'm honored to be in the top 3.
Seriously, it's an amazing cigar.
Thank you, brother.
Amazing.
What's the next? Mohammed has another question here. Are the non-Cuban cigars demand generally increasing lately? I would have to say no. There are certain markets that are still dominated by Cuban cigars and certain markets that they're always going to demand Cuban cigars, like the Chinese market, for example. But the reality is things are changing away from that into New World cigars. Depending on the country you go to, Germany is almost 50-50, New World versus Cuban. You go to England, 90-10, 90 Cuban, 10 New World. Switzerland, still heavily Cuban. Spain, still heavily Cuban. France, not as much. So it depends on where you go in the world. You guys are a perfect example. You're in Canada. You have the best of both worlds. You can get a New World and you can get Cuban. What do you see up there?
50-50.
See?
We'll have to say 50.
I want to tell you 50-50, and 2 is the price.
How long you been smoking cigars?
20
About
years?
20 plus.
20 years ago,
17.
what was 20 years ago? Tell me what it was.
Was Cuban.
It was Cuban,
Aha.
90-10.
Here it was Cuban, I tell you, because now the people are I tell you why they start
To
switching
learn.
to the new world. From my opinion, it's the price.
But
They
the
start
quality is there.
discovering other products, other cigars, and they start loving it.
Just
You
as
know-
good, less cost. That's the value that I was mentioning to you earlier. So even you guys can answer your own question, or at least Mohammed's question, which is Cuban demand up? No, it's not. It's up in certain. It's always there in certain areas, but more demand? No, I would say no.
All right, you
We're
can
becoming
read
more competitive. Whether it's the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, Mexico, wherever, we're becoming more competitive because people are realizing the veil is falling for the Cuban, cigar, and it's becoming more competitive.
You can read that next question, David.
Yeah, I can't read that. Sorry.
So the question is basically not the closest cigar to you, but the closest release to your heart, I guess. What was you're most proud of? One of the releases that you've done, I guess.
in the world?
No, of your cigars.
Wow. I have to say I'm very proud of a lot of. I mean, every one of my releases means something to me personally. I put a lot of thought, and they have a lot of meaning to them. This one in particular, the Above and Beyond, the line is called Heroes. There are going to be other lines, but the brand is called Above and Beyond, and this honors fallen service members, police, fire, EMS, and military in the United States. I designed and intended on bringing this cigar out only in the United States. We give a portion of the proceeds to families of the fallen to help them because in most cases they've lost the breadwinners in their household, right? Killed in the line of duty. I have an affinity to this because I have members of my family that have served. I was a former law enforcement officer and Chicago fire and paramedic. So to me, I know these people personally, their families personally. So it was a way for me to give back. And giving back is always important.
Absolutely. And
So this means something to me. Having said that, I distribute this cigar in Sweden, Holland, Germany. They're asking for it in France. And I never intended exporting this cigar. It was only supposed to be in the U.S. So having said that, I'm honored to be able to help raise funds to help people who have sacrificed or their families have sacrificed. So that's a meaning.
Definitely try that cigar.
That's a great initiative,
Beautiful.
David, and we salute them.
Thank you. The new one that I brought out, which is the Prince Hall.
Yeah.
That right there. There we go. Prince
Yeah.
Hall. Prince Hall. This one also means something to me. This is a man's name. This gentleman lived in the late 1700s into the 1800s and was a free black man that lived in the United States before it was the United States in Boston, owned a business owner, which was very rare back then. And he joined the Continental Army to fight against the British in the Revolutionary War to help create the United States. Not many people know who he is, but one thing he was led to that people in the United States know his name for is that he was also led because of their feeling of equality and integrity and honesty. He was led to or gravitated towards a fraternity called Masonry.
Okay.
And because of the times he was in, he couldn't join because he was black. He was able to establish his own lodge through a bunch of trials and tribulations and having to apply through the Grand Lodge of Masonry in London, and they awarded it to him in 1787. He was also a leading abolitionist for blacks back then for equality and education in the 17 and 1800s, way before the Civil War. Slavery was still going on. So this guy is one of the heroes that not many people know about. So for this reason, I name a cigar after him in his honor. And we plan on doing something with this cigar as well to help. That being said,
Noble.
I'm also a Mason. So for me, this means something to me, honoring one of my fellow fraternity brothers. So the Liga that you're smoking, the name, the Liga Exclusiva de Familia, in English means the exclusive blend of the family. The two blends, the Connecticut is my father's blend, and the Maduro is my blend for me. We personally smoked these, and then we brought them to market. So that one has a meaning. The Primos Estate Selection. I don't know if you can see that here. The band. This cigar has 5 hands in the center holding each other, representing the 5 different generations, handing the family business down to the next generation.
Oh, wow.
The scroll, the parchment paper you see in the background is the scroll of knowledge, representing the Placencia family and their education level of masters of farming and their degrees in agronomy. My family is represented by the swords protecting the family's knowledge, and also in a V representing a Roman numeral 5 for 5 generations. And in Spanish, the word primos simply means cousins. So this is a celebration of our families, the Placencias and Blancos, in the industry for over 100 years. So when you ask me about meaning,
So every cigar has a meaning for you.
everyone,
That's
And
good.
the
That
Blanco
that's mean you're making
principles-
cigars with hearts, like we said.
absolutely. This is a legacy. This is not a job for me. This is a career field for me that I make my living, but it is beyond me. It is beyond my grandfather. It is beyond my great-grandfather. I mean, this is a legacy that hopefully 50 years from now, there'll be somebody else on the screen wearing this and somebody else talking, and we'll be talking about Blanco cigars, and they may mention their grandfather, being me, of what he did 50 years ago to grow the brand and grow the family legacy to the next generation. So for me, this is very, by the way, on the wall back here, that's a picture. I know you can't see it, but that's a picture of my family in Cuba standing in the tobacco fields in about 1910.
Wow.
About 13 of them standing there in the tobacco fields in the middle of the Volta Abajo and Pinar del Rio, where we had our farms. On the other wall is my mentor, staring at me every day in my office, staring there with a cigar. I see him every day, and I thank him and miss him every day. So I have there's history here, and I never forget the people that got me to where I am. And that's why, for me, a cigar is more than just a pastime or a hobby. It's part of who we are as a family. And so for us, it means something. So all cigars mean something to us.
Inspiration right there.
The principles, David, the Blanco principles are the only cigars in the world that they have a band on the cap.
We are. This is the first time ever to have a conical band on a cigar. And the reason we did that, for those that are maybe familiar with the United States and the ceremony for people who die in the service of their country, whether it's fire, police, EMS, or military, you might have seen in movies. The coffin is draped in a flag.
True.
The flag is lifted and folded into a triangle.
Yeah.
And then presented to the family.
52
And presented to the family,
in honor,
honoring their loved one's service, in recognition of their service on behalf of a grateful country. This is to represent the folded flag. So that even has meaning.
Nice.
Now, if we stop smoking cigar for a short period or maybe a month, does something change?
Maybe in a month. Yes, your palate will be fresher, and things will taste more alive in your mouth when it comes to tobacco, because it'll be refreshed. You'll have had a break. It's like anything in life. You take a break from it, tastes, whether you stop having coffee or stop drinking wine or your favorite scotch, that first one's going to taste great again. You're going to have that. You're going to have that feeling. You will be refreshed. I purposely don't smoke for a couple days before I go to the factory to blend. Because when I blend, I am smoking so much, and I need a fresh palate to be able to pick out the nuances and the different flavors and aromas that I'm going to be testing. Any question? Does the Saudi market have a place in your marketing plans? Yes. The place is, I'm looking for a distributor. So if you're a distributor from Saudi Arabia out there somewhere and you're watching this, give us a call, send us an email.
I think we could be your contact.
Please do. Please do. We are definitely looking right now to get into more of the Middle Eastern market. It's all about distribution, and every country has to have its own distributor. And finding these guys, as I said, it's a very competitive market. There are a lot of brands out there. So there are more brands than distributors. So the distributors have to be very picky, right, for lack of a better word, very selective on the brands that they choose to work with. We hope that they'd like to work with us.
Great. Do we have one more? Right.
Where are the Blanco cigars standing in the market now compared to other brands such as Padron, AJ? Wow. Okay, so size of our company, we are much smaller than AJ and Padron. We are still considered a boutique cigar brand, even though I do over 1 million cigars a year. But we are still considered a boutique brand. That being said, we're bigger. I would consider us a medium-sized company for the amount of production that we're making. And that is only limited because of the amount of distribution we have. Not because we can't make more cigars. It's because we supply the demand that we currently have, which continues to grow. But if I had demand, I could make more cigars and I'd be up a notch in size. But for me, it's not all about size. It's about quality. It's not how many cigars I make. It's the quality of the cigars I make, which, by the way, Padron has down very well. Padron is not the biggest cigar manufacturer, even near the largest cigar manufacturer in the world. But they have some of the best quality cigars out there. It's reflected in their sales and in their business model. So, do I want to be the biggest, or would I prefer to be the best? I'm all about quality because that's in our motto.
Great answer. Thank you very much, David.
Honestly, last word for you, David.
Check us out at blancocigars.com for our website, Blanco Cigars on Facebook, Blanco Cigar Company on Instagram. And if you'd like to take a tour, that all information is on our webpage. We hope that you stay smoky with Blanco cigars when possible, and we hope that you have a wonderful experience smoking whatever your favorite cigars are out there. Just enjoy it. There's no time to smoke a bad cigar.
Let me say,
Life
this is
is
a
too
special
short.
one.
Life is too short.
This is a very special one. I don't know what you did in there, but it's
a good.
very good.
Thank you. A lot of time figuring that one out. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. The smile on your face and you telling me that is the same as, say, if I was a painter,
Works a lot.
telling me how much you enjoy my art. Or if I could sing or play a musical instrument, this is my art. And so for you to tell me that, that's as good as it gets.
We appreciate your time, David. Thank you very much for coming on the show and
Perfect.
letting people to know
Thank you,
Blanco
David.
Cigars, honestly, because
Thank
we need
you,
to know
guys.
more and more and more.
Thank you very much. And all of you out there, I wish you all the best. Have a great weekend. And thank you for joining me. I hope I deserved your time.
Thank
You
you.
did, absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. We'll keep in touch.
Stay
Thank you,
smoky.
guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.